Oh, here we go. It is a Tuesday morning. It's September 9th, 2025. Welcome to our mornings powered by Up North News here on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Coming up, we've got some really good guests. We have our new Tuesday tag team covering capitals in Madison and Washington, D.C. Dan Schaefer from the Recombobulation area and Cam Stevenson from Courier Newsroom. I will once again beg, demand local media to do better in their coverage of Derrick Van Orden. We'll do the fact checking that a local TV station decided it wasn't worth their time to do, as they were engaged in stenography once again for their congressman in the 3rd District. We'll talk to Jeff Rennicke from Friends of the Apostle Islands about the Trump administration's willful neglect of our national parks and the way that it's being seen in ways like overworked staff and garbage that's piling up. We'll talk to Hans Breitenmoser and Sheila Everhart from the Wisconsin Agricultural Tourism Association, some of the latest opportunities to add some rural Wisconsin sites to your road trip bucket list. And Dan Hagan from Newswatch 12 in Rhinelander will be along as well. Plus your forecast, little sports and more, all coming up starting at 6:06 across the Civic Media Radio Network and right here. See you soon.
Treasure Shop, Change Boutique, and Ha Long Bay have all had cars ram into their buildings. The Marquette Neighborhood Association pushed for changes, specifically to get rid of the rush hour parking ban. According to Yang Tao from the Traffic Division, they'll also be asking for your feedback.
I'm going to use the public feedback, right? I'm pretty sure people are going to share that experience with us. And so we're developing a survey right now. We'll make sure to capture those. And also make sure that, we broadcast, the survey is available.
Now, this change is only temporary. It starts today and will end in about 6 weeks. The Traffic Engineering Division will study traffic patterns and travel times. Meanwhile, another big project starts soon. Next month, work begins to rebuild all of John Nolan Drive. It's quite an undertaking for one of the city's busiest ways to get downtown. It's expected to take about 2 years. Stage 1 is the southbound lanes of John Nolan, and that's set to start in just a few weeks toward the start of October. That part of the Capital City Trail will be closed too. There will be detours for bicyclists and pedestrians. There will be a public meeting for people to get more information about the project on September 22nd. It's a virtual meeting. You can attend from anywhere and ask questions, but you do have to register beforehand. You can find a link to register for the meeting on our website, WMDXradio.com. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
Some injuries for the Packers. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with Sports NFL. The Packers have 14 players on the injury list following Sunday's win over the Lions. New additions include right tackle Zach Tom with a sore hip, left guard Aaron Banks listed with an ankle. The Packers host the Washington Commanders this Thursday night, kickoff at 7:15. On Monday Night Football, the Vikings beat the Bears in Chicago, 27-24. Baseball, the Brewers face the Rangers tonight in Arlington, Texas. The Crew shut out by the Rangers last night, 5-0. Milwaukee's Jose Quintana had a no-hitter going until the 5th, when Michael Hellman hit a grand slam with 2 outs. Pat Murphy.
Get 2 outs in the inning and make an 0-2 pitch that just doesn't get to where you want. Unfortunate, and great credit to the Rangers hitter who drove in all 5 runs, I believe, tonight. Great credit to him, credit to their starting pitching. Their starting pitcher, he was fantastic. The catchers, I've always liked this kid. He really does a great job behind the dish.
That's Brewers manager Pat Murphy with Sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
Come work with us. Civic Media has a number of great jobs across the state. Open now at civicmedia.us/careers.
I'm meteorologist Brandon Bormans. Some stellar September weather continues today with mostly sunny skies, high temperatures in the mid-70s. Now, a slow-moving front will inch into the area tonight, and that could lead to a shower or a thunderstorm. A lot of the area stays dry, though, mostly cloudy with a low of 56. Currently, it's 55 degrees.
Hey, Gordy, I gotta admit, these hearing aids from Madison Hearing Aid Center changed my life.
Mine too, John. I thought I needed subtitles to talk to my grandkids.
And these aren't those old giant clunkers we saw in the old days. It's got Bluetooth, it's rechargeable, the works.
Yeah, my phone connects straight to my ears. I'm basically a cyborg now.
Hey, you just figured out texting last year, too.
Yeah, baby steps. But I did call Madison Hearing Aid Center, and you should too. 608-249-4077.
608-249-4077. Tell them John and Gordy sent you.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
Pat, just so you know, we just tested the phones and we have a new issue. So,
want to see my shocked face?
Auga.
Yeah.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It is a Tuesday morning, September 9th, 2025. It's another beautiful morning to have you up here. Up north, live from Lake Wissota, from wherever you're spending your mornings, listening across the Civic Media Radio Network and all the other ways that could bring you right here to beautiful Chippewaffles. We are very happy that you are starting your day right here. I got a question for you. It's one of those semi-serious news questions, but every so often I feel the need to ask it. Is it possible to be both an evil genius, doing diabolical, well-planned things, and be stupid as well? If you've been paying attention for the past 7-8 months, you already know the answer to that, but I have these two different examples of how the presidency, based in large part on racism, has both evil genius tendencies and things that are akin to stepping on a rake. So I will describe that for you coming up in just a bit. Also coming up, I will once again beg, cajole, insist that local media stop engaging in stenography when it comes to Congressman Derrick Van Orden, who once again was given coverage that was unencumbered by fact checks or clarifications or context. We will review an event the other night, not a town hall. We're not exactly sure what it was, to celebrate, quote unquote, a new tax policy regarding tips and overtime. It is not nearly as generous or encompassing as you would think, to see how it's being covered by other outlets. We'll be catching up with our friend Jeff Rennicke. He's a friend of the Apostle Islands. That's actually the name of the group, Friends of the Apostle Islands. And we'll be talking about the Trump administration's willful neglect of our national parks, how it's being seen in everything from overworked staff and fewer tours to piled up trash and lost revenue that could be keeping our parks in a healthy condition. We will visit with dairy farmer Hans Breitenmoser, along with Sheila Everhart from the Wisconsin Agricultural Tourism Association. You need an updated bucket list. You're going on a road trip or you see a nice weekend's coming. This weekend's going to be nice. Now, we traveled last weekend. We had a really nice road trip. This weekend for us is going to be, based on house stuff, but maybe this coming weekend is going to be the weekend that you guys can just get away and be whimsical in your planning. Well, Sheila Everhart will give you some ideas on some rural Wisconsin sites to add to your road trip bucket list for fall in Wisconsin. And then we have that new Tuesday tag team covering your capitals in both Madison and Washington, D.C. We'll have Cam Stevenson live from the nation's capital. We'll talk about the evil genius / stepping on a rake process when it comes with dealing with Hispanic Americans and undocumented immigrants. And also at the same time deciding it was a good idea to raid a South Korean car factory and battery plant under construction. Boy, is that about to backfire. And then Dan Schaefer of the Recombobulation area will preview the upcoming session of the Wisconsin Assembly. It's time to look at those bills beyond the state budget and all the ways that they could change life in Wisconsin for you. So Dan will talk all about that. And then Tuesday brings both the Dans, Dan Schaefer and Dan Hagan, from Newswatch 12 in Rhinelander. WJFW TV will tell us what kind of stories he's working on in the North Woods. And of course, along the way, you might have to go to work. You might have to take the kids to school. You might, in some way, shape, or form, miss some of this. So get over to Spotify, sign up for this program as a podcast and be able to listen back later on, maybe during, your midday chores or whatever the case may be. So head to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us and all kinds of other great civic media shows. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. From meteorologist Brittany Merlot, the state forecast says summer-like weather is around the corner. There will be higher heat. There will be more mugginess, and there will be dry days to close out the week. But first, we got to get through the next 36 hours or so. For today, Brittany says rounds of rain and thunder to the north, cloudy to the south. Highs will be in the mid-60s up north, mid-70s south, with a southwest wind at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Cloudy with spotty showers tonight. Lows tonight in the mid-50s, and a south wind at 5 to 10. You can definitely tell the warm front worked its way through the state already, and the after effects of it are still up north as the front moved its way from south to north, because the high temperatures around the state right now are all in the northwestern corner of the state. It is 64 degrees in the Chippewa Valley here right now, and in Menominee. It's also 64 in Burnett, and then the colder spots, like 45, way down in Burlington in the southeast corner of the state. But again, much more summer-like temperatures will be around, coming back one more time. Parker Olson produces this fine program from Madison Studio A2 at the top of State Street, 1 block away from the state capitol, and joins us now, I believe, through the magic of radio. Mr. Olson, how are you?
The magic of radio? I thought this was the magic of the internet.
Well, it's a little bit of both. It's got to get from me to you through the interwebs, and then out to the public through the magic of radio. And we're very thankful for everybody that's doing that. Was yesterday as glorious there as it was here, with that south wind at like 20 miles an hour, and it was, the trees were swaying. It was just a beautiful breeze. It could not have been a nicer example of a late summer day where you don't have the 90-degree temperatures, but it's still very pleasant.
Yeah, no, it was very nice. I had absolutely no complaints about the weather. So
yeah,
there you go. That's a good day in my book. If I don't have anything to complain about, which is hard. So
yeah, because life has beaten you down so much and you have so much to complain about otherwise. Alicia puts on YouTube, Mother Nature decided to turn the temperatures upside down. Yes, at least temporarily here. And, like Alicia, if you'd like to, get in on all the fun that we're having here, you definitely can. You head over to Up North News on Facebook or YouTube, or Civic Media on Facebook or YouTube, and jump in the comment section. Tell us what you're up to today, where you're listening from, what you're doing with your days. And also we'll see those, but we'll also see if you use the Civic Media app and use the text function on there, for example. Or you can leave us a voice note as well. There's that voice note feature under all the different Civic Media stations, and we'll catch those. We'll listen to them, maybe pop those up on air. And of course, one of these days, we're going to start taking phone calls again. But right now, Parker is we're still working on that. And I say that half tongue in cheek because, again, it's not a lot of folks racing to call a radio station at 6:14 in the morning, but
this is true.
So we have found much more enthusiasm for people that they're still in their pajamas. They've got their mug of coffee, and it's just easier to tap out something on your phone or on your computer keyboard. And that's fine. We want to give you all the opportunities to comment and let us know what's on your mind today.
We live in the age of the keyboard warrior, Pat.
We do. We've got it all. So if you are said keyboard warrior, well then, by gum, you come on out and say what's on your mind. We'll get you on the phone at some point. We'll cajole you. We'll bribe you. Whatever.
You don't understand, guys. We're so close. I thought we.
Alicia says technology has a Tuesday morning attitude. Yeah.
Tech Tuesdays with Pat and Parker. Here we go.
Yep. What did you break this time? Should be our motto. Also invite you to be a subscriber to the Up North News newsletters, weekdays. We've got a new newsletter editor starting this week, and if she's half as good as she was in the job interviews, you're going to love to get to know her. So I'm just teasing you with that. There will be much more time to meet and greet and learn more about the newsletters. But in the meantime, Henry, our summer intern, did just a fantastic job helping out, lighten the load with all of us, contributing to it. And you can sign up for all the work that we do with the newsletters by heading to upnorthnewswi.com. Click subscribe in the banner up on top of our homepage. There's also our Sunday morning politics newsletter. And in it, there's always a question of the week. And I ask, what caused Donald Trump's flip-flop on the Epstein files? Did he realize that he maybe thought he wasn't going to get caught doing some bad things and realizes he did get caught doing bad things? Or is it a case of he actually isn't listed in the files doing bad things, but he's protecting other people who are listed there? Or is it that he's blackmailing other people who are listed in there, and that's why he hasn't released them yet? Or the fourth option, of course, is he's right. It's all a hoax. And all these women are just making it up. They're all part of a grand conspiracy. Sure, maybe that's one of your answers. Right now, there's been a whole lot of the others. And again, to be one of the first to see the question of the week and respond, head over to upnorthnewswi.com and click subscribe up in the top banner and get on board with those newsletters. Boy, Parker, was I excited watching the first 4 innings of the Brewers game last night in Texas. It was also a perfect night for baseball in Arlington, Texas.
Yeah,
the roof was open on their new and gorgeous stadium down there. And Jose Quintana, put down in the first inning, put him down in order 1, 2, 3. Second inning 4, 5, 6. Third inning 7, 8, 9. Fourth inning 1, 2, 3 again. I mean, perfect through 4 innings. This was looking real good. And the wheels came off the bus in the 5th inning, where he managed to load the bases, and then Quintana gave up a grand slam to Michael Hellman, his first ever Major League grand slam. He drove in all of the Texas runs with the grand slam and later on a double as the Rangers beat the Brewers 5-0 last night. The Brewers were held scoreless for only the 11th time this season. I don't know the whole list of teams and how many times they've been shut out, but I don't think it's been a lot for the Brewers. So I'm saying only the 11th time this season.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It just sucks when you have such a good pitching performance and you get shut out.
Yes, it really does. This is the same team that has had far more 4 or more run innings than any other team in baseball. They have these big innings all the time where they're busting out the whooping sticks, and then sometimes the sticks appear to have been put into the fire pit and somebody put gasoline on them. So we'll see if we can pick it up again with game 2 of the series. That's this evening in Texas. Coverage begins at 6:30 on several Civic Media stations. By the way, the magic number, Cubs lost, so the magic number to clinch the National League Central Division is 11. To clinch and get into the playoffs, the magic number is just 2. And for the best record, the number 1 seed, the magic number is only 12. So there's some reason to be hopeful here. Okay, let's just leave it at that.
Champagne could pop soon.
Yes, it could. So be on the lookout for that. And then, of course, a reminder: the Packers are on a short week. They've got the Thursday night game this time. I didn't hear all the details from Mike Clemens just now, but he was talking about injuries, and this is always the roughest part of those Thursday night games. Some would say the roughest part. I would say the dumbest part, because I still think Thursday night games are dumb, but they didn't ask for my vote. So it is what it is. And the pregame for Thursday's game against the Washington Commanders will begin at 5 p.m. on Thursday on WRCO in Richland Center, WCQM in Park Falls, WRJN in Racine, and WAUH in Wautoma. And find those stations and be a listener, because come Thursday, that game is on Amazon Prime, and there's quite a chance that you may not be able to hear that, or watch it, I should say, so you can hear it on Civic Media. From the heart of America's up north, live from Lake Wissota, thanks for making this the place to spend part of your mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
You know what I did instead of watching the Brewers last night?
What?
I watched the Bears-Vikings game.
Oh, I got to go find that. Oh, that's right.
It was a good game. However, I will not say that it was good football.
No. Come on. Let's see. Oh, who came? The Dodgers almost had a no-hitter. Wow. Okay.
Oh, did it get broken up? I don't.
Yeah. Yep. And apparently over the weekend was a no-hitter broken up after 8 2/3, and the team still lost.
Yes.
Wow.
I want to say Giants against the Dodgers. I could be talking out of. I
Okay.
probably shouldn't say that word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really remember exactly, but yes, it was a very entertaining loss.
Okay.
Alicia. All I know is the Bears lost. And that's all you need to know, because that's all that matters.
Yep.
Drug-related crashes every year in Wisconsin. Help prevent drug driving, and let's achieve 0 preventable deaths on Wisconsin roadways. Driving on pills kills. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Departments of Health Services, Transportation, and Justice.
Hey, Gordy, I gotta admit, these hearing aids from Madison Hearing Aid Center changed my life.
Mine too, John. I thought I needed subtitles to talk to my grandkids.
And these aren't those old giant clunkers we saw in the old days. It's got Bluetooth.
Tomorrow in our homeroom segment, helping taxpayers understand just how much the private school voucher scheme is taking out of our wallets and out of our hometown schools. Heather Dubois-Bornon will talk about a new campaign aimed at that taxpayer transparency. That is coming up. I should have mentioned in sports as well. I didn't see it, just heard about it this morning, but the Bears just completely bared last night. Apparently ahead handily. But then the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy managed to come all the way back and rallied to win over the Bears late in the game, 27-24. Couldn't happen to a better bunch of folks. David Crawley, the Milwaukee County executive, early this morning made official he is a candidate for governor. So we will be talking about that later in the morning as well. Now, today's history lesson is only, about 12 minutes away or so. So let me tease you for today's history lesson with a little musical trivia. One of the songs we're going to include is from 1978. The song is Boogie Oogie Oogie from A Taste of Honey. That's the group. My question is, who's doing this iconic bass line? Who's that on the bass? We'll answer that question and more in today's history lesson coming up in just a little bit on these mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News on the Civic Media Radio Network. Well, it appears that Congressman Derrick Van Orden, who has not hosted a town hall in recent memory, did host some kind of an event in, where was it? Was it Galesville? It was a no tax on tips event at a bar. And there was a story on it by a La Crosse TV station, WKBT. And to read the story, you would think that this was just an entirely positive event and that nobody had any tough questions for the congressman, not in the audience and not in the media as well. It was all about emphasizing, as the WKBT story says, emphasizing the potential financial benefits for service industry workers. The story says Wisconsin's 3rd District representative used the Galesville venue to showcase how the tax policy would directly impact food service employees who rely on gratuities as a significant portion of their income. Van Orden said, we're talking about $25,000 a year worth of tax breaks on tips, and that's the right thing to do, end quote. And the story concludes, Van Orden highlighted the savings and tax cuts that Republicans and President Trump secured for Americans during the previous administration. The congressman framed the no tax on tips proposal as part of a broader Republican economic agenda aimed at reducing the tax burden on working Americans. And that's the end of the story, kids. That's the end of the quote-unquote news coverage. Pardon me for a moment while I let out a deep sigh. I don't know who covered this. I don't know who wrote this. I am not here to single them out, other than to say it is a story that is indeed quite representative of how Derrick Van Orden has been covered by local news outlets that are, shall we say, bereft of experienced journalists. I mean, was this a town hall? Was this a fundraiser? Was this a drop-in? He has been hiding from his constituents for months. Covering him should kind of be a bigger deal, assuming there were people there who were not simply fawning over him and could ask some tough questions about the real world impact of what it is he voted for. So I am again asking, maybe not begging, but pretty close to demanding that local reporters in and around the 3rd Congressional District stop being stenographers, ask well-prepared questions, don't accept answers that are evasive or rude, as Van Orden is wont to do, or don't worry about asking questions to a guy who's going to be evasive and rude, but at least make sure that your story includes the full story about the claims he's making. For example, the WKBT story could simply go on to say the following. What Congressman Van Orden did not mention at his party is that a review of the bill he supported shows that of the only 3% of American workers who get tips, this change only affects about 1/3 of them. Many tipped workers have such a low income that a deduction from that tipped income would do almost nothing for them. And they'd still have to pay payroll taxes, Social Security and otherwise, state income taxes, and so on. And as for the tax break on overtime, which is typically paid at time and a half, the tax break is only eliminated on the half. And the regular pay level for those working overtime still pays at the same tax rate as before. That's it. That's all that story would have needed to be more complete and frankly more fair to the viewer. What I just said there, that part that I added, there is nothing in there that is partisan. There is nothing in there that is even remotely political. What it is journalism. Don't cover the event. Cover the story. The story is a congressman coming out of hiding, saying a bill does one thing, but he's not telling you the whole thing. And when your congressman is not being on the level with you, that's where journalism becomes the public service. We talk about elected officials being public servants. They really, so many of them don't think of themselves that way anymore. And too many journalists think of themselves as just part of, an ownership group, another cog in the business of media. No, you're engaged in a public service as much, if not more so, than the elected officials that you're covering. So perform that public service and tell the full story. If the politician won't answer your questions, or if the politician's going to be rude, then simply note that in the story, but then get all the details out there for your viewer, for your listener, for your reader. That really is the least you can do if you're going to have a role in media covering our elected officials in this day and age. All right, coming up, we will have today's history lesson, including who is on that iconic bass line from Boogie Oogie Oogie. In the meantime, here comes the Midwest Farm Report. Thanks for spending some time here as part of your mornings, powered by Up North News. I'm Pat Kreitlow on the Civic Media Radio Network. Yeah, we got Spicy Pat there. Thank you to Tony. Thank you to Alicia. So Tony, what did you think of that rant just now? Tony says strong start, but fell apart in the second half. Oh no, wait, that was the Vikings. Never mind. You know how it is with online comments.
You had me in the first half. I'm not gonna lie.
You know, there's a point where you go, am I starting to become a cranky old man? And you kind of try to shy away from it and, try not to. And then there's the time where you get to a point where you go, yeah, I am. Because you should be listening to this. That's where we are.
Embrace it, Matt. This is your role in life now.
It is. It's the guy that's is going to say, you're doing it wrong. Let me help you. Okay. I just there were a lot of other places we could go today, and we'll get to them, to the Hyundai plant, and how that's backfiring spectacularly. There's the Supreme Court decision, which is a travesty. That frankly should be the top story everywhere. The Supreme Court allowing for racial profiling, and again, I will get to it, but I saw that story, and I'm sorry, I don't normally like to call out individual media outlets, but that was just wrong. Alicia, Pat, you are the type of cranky old man we all need. Tony, please go on at least one rant against Derrick Van Orden every day.
Oh, please don't. I don't think I can take that.
Chris, cranky is way good. All right, I'm glad to provide that. But again, it's about talking to everybody, and really, my job works best if I'm reaching those people who are not, already, shall we say, base voters, the people who still could really vote either way. And they need to hear something like this going, oh yeah, maybe there should be a little bit more to covering Derrick Van Orden than that,
And you know what? We shouldn't call it crankiness. We should call it journalism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's a thought. Yes, Alicia, there's a congressional candidate who called ICE on the Hyundai plant. Good luck with that. Way to kill the jobs. Anyway, so there we go.
Who's ready for a history lesson?
10:33 3/4. December wheat closed up 4.5 at 5.23 3/4. 40-pound blocks of cheese are up 0.5 penny at 169.5, and butter gained 1/4 penny at 202.5. Make sure to stay up to date on all things agriculture by downloading our app, The Farm. You can download it at thefarmwi.com or by finding it on your app store. Giving you a look at the markets this morning from the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo.
Download the Civic Media app in the Google Play or Apple App Store and take us everywhere. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Hi, meteorologist Brandon Bormans. Some stellar September weather continues today with mostly sunny skies, high temperatures in the mid-70s. Now, a slow-moving front will inch into the area tonight, and that could lead to a shower or a thunderstorm. A lot of the area stays dry, though, mostly cloudy with a low of 56. Currently, it's 55 degrees.
The Todd Albaugh Show.
Mr. Pat Kreitlow joins us from Lake Wissota.
Everything that I know about high culture, everything I know about opera, for example, comes from Bugs Bunny cartoons. The kids are missing out these days. They got Bluey and all of that.
Well, now it's all like real.
We had coyotes falling off of cliffs. Come on.
Exactly. And now it's all this educational crap.
We really have just become the two old men rocking on the porch talking about days gone by.
The Todd Albaugh Show.
Well,
weekdays 2 to 4 on your local Civic Media radio station.
I guess I have a type. Didn't I just get done saying, Mom, maybe I don't want to be pegged with a type. Maybe that ship has sailed. What do you think? Huh?
Oh, what timing. That was great.
Yeah.
I agree, though. We need more Bugs Bunny.
Anyway, I'll go back to sipping my glass of Metamucil here.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back.
Welcome back to today's history lesson for this September 9th, 9/9/25. And we begin with the premiere of the TV series Welcome Back, Kotter, which debuted on ABC. This date 50 years ago. It still is going to hit me every time I do something from 1975 and go, wait, it's been 50 years? Yeah, it is. The TV show about one of the former sweat hogs, as the kids all called themselves at this high school in I want to say, was it Brooklyn or the Bronx in New York City? He later becomes a teacher, and he comes back, and now he has to be the teacher to the same rambunctious type of students that he once was himself. The theme song there, that was written by John Sebastian of the Lovin' Spoonful, performed by him as well. And it would be the #1 song on the charts later next year as Welcome Back, Kotter caught on and became a highly rated ABC show. Another media story, the Radio Corporation of America, later known as RCA, on this day in 1926 launched its new radio network, the National Broadcasting Company, later known as NBC. So the NBC radio network began this day in 1926. All right, let's see. We've got what else in today's history lesson here? Got to scroll down. Oh, we've got a lot of birthdays today. We've got Dave Stewart is 73 from the Eurythmics, along with Annie Lennox. Hugh Grant is 65 years old today. And today marks the birth 84 years ago of Otis Redding, who died way too soon, a plane crash in Madison at the age of 26. But Otis Redding was born this day in 1941.
What you want, honey, you got it. And what you need, baby, you got it. All I'm asking is give me a little respect when I know.
Everybody goes, oh, it's Otis Redding. You're going to play Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, right? No, we're not. Because there's some songs when there's only like one version that's good and the rest are like pale comparisons. But Respect, of course, Aretha Franklin, but Otis Redding as well. Really nice version of that one that got more than its share of airplay. And he would have done much more with it had he not passed away so soon at the age of 26. Adam Sandler is 59 years old today. Eric Stone Street of Modern Family is 54. The Bublé, Michael Bublé, is 50 years old today. John Kuhn, is 44. I like that he's really embraced the broadcast thing now. He's on the games, he's in the booth. Now he's doing TV commercials. So
I don't think I've seen those.
Oh yeah, I forget what it's for now, but I want to say it's for Potawatomi, for the sports book. I think. Okay. So good for him. It's always, sometimes these athletes, they leave, they retire, you never hear from them again. Like whatever happened to so and so, and then you got like Donald Driver. I mean, honestly, you expect to get in your car one day and he's in the back seat going, "Hi, I'm Donald Driver. I brought you some sub sandwiches and I'm writing you a ticket for not wearing your seatbelt." He's everywhere.
Yeah, I do like players that stick around like this.
Now, I know there's folks saying, well, wait, it's Michael Bublé's 50th birthday. Where's the song from Michael Bublé? To which I say, you're welcome. Let's move on to Elvis Presley. On this day in 1956, Elvis made the first of 3 contracted appearances on the Ed Sullivan Show. Here's the clip of him performing Don't Be Cruel. Don't be cruel.
You know I can be found sitting home all alone. If you can't come around.
I am surprised the crowd is that restrained as they were. He also would sing Love Me Tender, Ready Teddy, and Hound Dog, but he was shot from the waist up to avoid scandal. And
don't want to see those hips moving.
And the show built an audience of a staggering, listen to this. This is 1956. 54 million viewers.
I didn't know there were that many TVs.
I don't even know that the Super Bowl gets that much for raw numbers anymore. I could be wrong. I mean, your typical #1 show used to get like maybe 20 million viewers.
Sure.
And now it struggles to get that. But again, you only had 2 or 3 channels at the time, so you were going to watch Elvis whether you wanted to or not, and most people most decidedly did.
They wanted to.
Let's go to 1972. The new album there was from Jim Croce.
Uptown got its hustlers, the Bowery got its bums. 42nd Street got Big Jim, a Walker, he a bull shooting son of a gun.
If you were to listen just to the history lesson, and we just talked about Otis Redding dying too soon in that plane crash in Lake Monona, and then Jim Croce, we lost him way too soon in an airplane crash, and we talked about Patsy Cline, I believe, just yesterday. You'd think maybe the advice for musicians is not to get in airplanes, but remember that a lot of these were in the 50s and 60s, and it's not that planes don't crash anymore, but it was definitely a different era back then. And Jim Croce was approaching his peak with hits off that album, You Don't Mess Around with Jim, from this week in 1972. On this day in 1976, the answer to the question, when did we decide to call ourselves the United States of America? Of all the things you could have picked for a country, I know they talked about like New Columbia and, other names that were bandied about, but it was on this day in 1776, the Continental Congress officially named its Union of States as the United States. Which seems pretty basic. Like, what are we going to call ourselves? We're just a bunch of states. Yeah, but we're United States. Wait a minute.
I got an idea.
Wait a minute. We're just a bunch of baseball players. What are we going to call ourselves? Let's go with the ball players. It's brilliant. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
So here we are.
I would like to hear an alternative, Pat. What would your name have been for the United States?
That's a very good question. Maybe not England.
Okay. I'd have gone with anti-England. Yeah.
Anti-England. See, that would have worked out as well. On this day in 1791, so 15 years later or so, the capital city of the United States, the new capital city, would be named Washington, D.C., named after President George Washington. So there are those who say it will be renamed Trump, D.C. within the next year or two.
Oh, no. No.
I'm just saying some could. All right, let's get to that little bit of trivia there. A Taste of Honey and Boogie Oogie Oogie. That was the number 1 song this week in 1978. Let's give a listen again to the start of it. Now, A Taste of Honey, the lead singer, her name was Janice Marie Johnson. They had a drummer, a keyboardist, they had a lead guitar player, but what I didn't know till now was the person putting down this bass. Oh, I hit it too soon. I thought it was the short radio edit. But forget. We'll get this in post-production. Let me back up and get this.
Yeah,
They had a drummer, a keyboardist, a lead guitar, but what I didn't know till now was the person pulling down this bass line. Nailed it.
Attaboy.
The person nailing down the bass line was also Janice Marie Johnson, the singer, and is also a member of the Native American Music Association Hall of Fame. Number 1 song this week in 1978. On this day in 1999, a new park opened in Winslow, Arizona. And if I say Winslow, Arizona, if you're a really good fan of the Eagles, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The park is called Standing on the Corner Park for that Eagle song, Take It Easy. And it goes like this.
Well, I'm standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona, and such a fine sight.
There you go. And I know you're thinking, well, why didn't you bring that up yesterday? And you know why? Because was it last year? I want to say last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago when Dr. Kristen Lyerly was there and sent us a photograph of her at Standing on the Corner Park in Winslow, Arizona, featuring a statue of a man with a guitar standing on the corner. And the park quickly became a popular photo op for folks passing through Winslow, Arizona, Dr. Lyerly included, of course.
Of course she is. I was unaware of this. Of course she partook in this. All right.
Of course she did. On this day in 2014, hey, who doesn't like a free gift? Well, apparently about 500 million of us iTunes users at the time who created an uproar when U2's new album, Songs of Innocence, showed up in our personal libraries without costing anything, but also without anyone's permission to put their album in our personal music library. In other words, it was digital zucchini. You can't just come into our music collection front porch and leave us stuff that we didn't ask for.
I was not expecting a dig at Luke there.
It wasn't a dig at Luke Mathers necessarily, but yeah, it was digital zucchini is the way that I choose to look at it. And so, and you would try to like delete it, and like it may or may not work. It might still actually be there in my phone for all I know. But it's a lot different now. Now there's just stuff that comes up random because the streaming services, they're trying to use AI and guess what you want to hear next. Sometimes it works, sometimes not so much.
And it's all free now.
And what do you mean it's all free?
Like Spotify, it's free.
Well,
just listen to
they're
stuff.
gonna find a way to get you though. They're gonna want you to subscribe to something extra or whatever.
Well, I pay for Spotify, yeah, but
okay, there you go. Mathers on the text line. Yeah, that was kind of a dig, but I agree. I hated that album. And that was the problem. People did listen to the album and go, not everything that you do is great. I mean, look at the Beatles. I point you to Michelle. Listen to that song and tell me the Beatles had 100% record. They did not. Every so often, one of them's going to miss. This week in 2006, we got this lead single from Justin Timberlake's second solo album. I know, I'm waiting for it to do something as well.
I'm bringing sexy back.
There we go. Thank you, Justin. So anyway, Sexy Back was the lead single from the album Future Sex Love Sounds, and it hit number 1 this week in 2006 and would stay there for 7 weeks. 2 years later, in 2008, music news would be made by Donnie and Marie, of all people. Donnie and Marie Osmond, this week in 2008, kicked off what was supposed to be a 6-week residency at the Flamingo Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. But the show was so popular, instead of 6 weeks, the show ran for 11 years. Finally coming to an end in 2019 when Marie wanted to, step down. Donnie Osmond still performing quite regularly.
I'm no expert, but I think 11 years is a little longer than 6 weeks.
A little bit. Yeah, the math definitely works on there. Tony says it was so nice of Justin to write a song about me. Sure.
I thought it was about Pat.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let's see. Today on the International Day calendar, it is International Box Wine Day. Now, again, I'm not much of a wine drinker. I thought when box wine came out, I thought people would welcome that, better packaging and, it would stay fresh longer without the cork thing. Oh, no, box wine was quickly relegated to, that thing that people look down on, but it's still around. Plenty of people still drink their box wine. This is the National Teddy Bear Day and International Sudoku Day. And I can say in all honesty, I have never played Sudoku.
Never.
No.
That seems like such a you thing to do.
I know. And I've just never gotten around to it. So anyway, Roger asks from Stevens Point on Facebook, does anyone still Wordle? That too is a valid question.
Really? Yeah.
I'm Pat Kreitlow. You're up north. Wow, that's annoying, isn't it?
We had a second left.
I know.
Okay.
You don't think I know how the clock works? Oh,
I
yeah.
guess.
I'm right there. Oh, boy.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's not the best song.
Thank you, Alicia. Says, same, Pat. Sudoku never appealed to me.
Really?
Look,
I do it for a math class.
I'll tell you why. Tony adds, I hate Sudoku. My wife does it all the time. I actually don't like it based on a false premise.
Oh.
When it first came out and was getting big, and the whole thing is what? You add up all the numbers one way or the other, and they all add up to the same thing or something like that. Isn't that the premise?
I guess that's also true. You do have to have 1 through 9 all in a row.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, this is me showing off that I'm not very bright sometimes, but I looked at that and I'm like, oh, well, there's only got to be a finite number of combinations. And so that game's not going to last because people will eventually go through all the combinations. That was dumb.
Like a 9x9 box.
Yeah, that's a lot of combinations, and maybe that's what it became after that. Was like, oh wait, there's too many combinations. It was too overwhelming. Or at least you're going, yeah, it's just math. I hate math. And
Yeah, that's fair.
Tony, no chance I'm going to spend time with numbers to relax. Yeah, that could be the case too.
I'll play like an easy version of it.
Mm-hmm.
I will not play much harder than that, though.
Yep. Okay. All right, I got to go get some temperatures.
Scout workshops after dark and the new Camp Wildside. They also offer field trips, birthday parties, service days, and their new Paws and Pages reading program. Learn more at giveshelter.org/education.
Hi, my name is Chuck Collins. I'm the great-grandson of the meatpacker Oscar Mayer and a member of the Patriotic Millionaires. I'm also the author of a new book, Burned by Billionaires: How Concentrated Wealth and Power Are Ruining Our Lives and Planet. This summer proved to all of us that climate change is real and it is deadly. And I'm here to tell you that a small group of billionaires are making it worse. Did you know that billionaire Jeff Bezos' wife, Lauren Sanchez, emitted more carbon in her 11-minute Blue Origin space flight than the average person emits in a lifetime? Did you know that the average super yacht produces as much carbon emissions as 1,500 regular vehicles, and that private jets emit 10 to 20 times more pollutants per passenger than commercial airplanes? So who should pay for climate change? People like you who recycle and turn off the lights when you leave.
20 seconds.
We're going to come back to Sudoku in just a moment here, but first at 6:52 in La Crosse, it is 61 degrees right now. Amory 63. Out in Oshkosh, it's 54. And at Racy Delane's Coffee Lounge on Water Street in Eau Claire, it is 64 degrees. And I bring up Eau Claire because I just received the list of events that will be happening for UW Eau Claire's 100th homecoming. So the 100th homecoming for Blue Golds at UW Eau Claire will take place the weekend of October 4th. And I don't know, Mr. Olson, if down there in Whitewater, do they have homecoming? Do they do things?
Yeah, we had a homecoming.
Oh, you sound really sold on it. Okay.
I was never a big homecoming guy.
Well, you just graduated. You're not, homecoming is.
I get what you mean, but like as a student, it's not.
It's more of an excuse to party. I
Yes.
totally get that. And so listen to these events coming up at UW Eau Claire that first weekend of October. There is the variety show on Thursday evening, Varsity Night Live, which I'd covered a few times for the college TV station at the old Zorn Arena, which they've now just torn down at Eau Claire. But Varsity Night Live was always a good time. And sometimes there might be fodder that lasts a lifetime. For example, there was a men's choral group that did a slow version of the Carpenter song Superstar. And it was, I would say, cringeworthy because instead where the chorus goes, "Don't you remember you told me you love me, baby?" You probably saw it in Tommy Boy. But they sang it very, very seriously. "Don't you remember you told me you love me, baby?" And it wasn't even like for humorous purposes. Like they're playing it straight, and that has stuck with us ever since. So if that song is coming, we'll just be like, "Baby, baby, 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 oh baby."
It's a little too stone-faced.
So go to your college campus variety show. You're going to see stuff that is amazing, and you might see something that sticks with you for the purposes of mockery. You just never know. Let's see. There will be a homecoming parade that will span 10 blocks of Water Street. There will be a Blue Gold football game against the Blue Devils of UW Stout, along, of course, with the Blue Gold Marching Band halftime show. You'll be able to enjoy the fifth quarter festivities. This part I would go to. I don't think I'm going to be around to go to it, but if I were, the fifth quarter is going to feature Uncommon Denominator. Uncommon Denominator is a cover band here in the Chippewa Valley featuring
Okay.
Blue Gold alums.
Oh, cool.
They are so good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, I don't know that there's any other band locally that we would seek out, but Uncommon Denominator is definitely one of them. Now here's one we would not be going to, but other people will. At the new Sonotag Center in Eau Claire, you can revel in nostalgia with an I Love the 90s tour featuring Tone Loc, Young MC, and Vanilla Ice as your headliner.
Wait a
Like,
minute.
Parker is just
Vanilla Ice is going to be there?
Vanilla Ice is going to be at the I Love the 90s tour concert at the Sonotag Center homecoming weekend.
What?
Okay, but maybe that's not your thing. Then fine. The School of Nursing is having its 60th anniversary breakfast. There will be a jazz concert at the Pablo Center, which I'm sure is going to be killer because UW-Eau Claire known for its jazz program.
Yeah.
Blue Gold grads from the class of 1975, here it comes again. They're going to have their 50-year reunion during homecoming. And you can check out things, of course, like the progress of the new science building that's going up at the bottom of the hill in the middle of campus there. And people will get there and go, wait a minute, where did Putnam Hall go? Where did KT Hall go? Catherine Thomas. These two old dorms were torn down in order to make room for the new science building, which is huge. It's a big complex that's going up there. So you can check on the progress of that. You can look at the pit at what used to be Zorn Arena, which hosted countless events over the decades. You can check out the little Niagara, the footbridge, all the other things that you remember. Climb up the hill and be reminded how much you hated climbing up the hill over and over to get to your dorm when classes were done back in the day.
My cousin is a freshman at Eau Claire, and I think that he is going to enjoy the experience of I'm a freshman and this is how it works, and it sucks, but it is how it works.
Sure. Yeah. So anyway, that's all the UW-Eau Claire 100th homecoming coming up the weekend of October 4th. Head over to uwec.edu to learn more. So when I mentioned it was National Sudoku Day or something, it clearly said, like Alicia says, same Pat, Sudoku never appealed to me. Tony said, I hate Sudoku. My wife does it all the time. No chance that I'm going to spend time with numbers just to relax. Alicia responding to, yeah, it's just math. I hate math. And she goes on to say, we could talk about cooler things like World of Warcraft or Guild Wars instead of Sudoku. So there are alternatives. I just did not realize it was going to strike a nerve. I'm glad that I have some allies in the desire to, not necessarily play, though. Like I was telling Parker near the, over the break, my dislike of Sudoku was based initially on a fatally flawed premise. I looked at this simple little box of 9 numbers and went, well, they're going to run out of combinations. This thing's never going to catch on, because I didn't, again, do the math as far as all the different combinations and ways that you could play this. But at that point, my feeling about it went completely to the other end of the spectrum to, oh, well, that's too much math. There's too many possibilities. I don't want any part of this. But like Roger mentioning Wordle, there are things that people get addicted to, or not addicted, but that they like to play.
Yeah, I like to do chess. I have chess.com. I have that app on my phone, and I'll do like the daily puzzle every day. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, and Sherry and I, we still have Words with Friends, which is Scrabble, and we have a Boggle game on our phones that we have played thousands of games of Boggle, rounds of Boggle on there on the phone. So yeah, different strokes for different folks here. So, all right. Well, coming up in the next hour, how would you like to visit our national parks without having to pay anymore? You can, but you shouldn't, but you can. It's all part of Donald Trump's plan to starve the national parks and probably lead to more development or privatization. We'll talk about it coming up after the news with Jeff Rennicke from Friends of the Apostle Islands. That's coming up. Also, Hans Breitenmoser and Sheila Everhart on the growing spots to engage in rural tourism across the great state of Wisconsin. 2 more hours to go as we get rolling on another one of those Tuesday mornings powered by Up North News. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Civic Media Station.
ABC
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The U.S. Supreme Court ruling that ICE raids in California can go forward. Here's ABC Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce.
This is a big win for President Trump and his administration's aggressive immigration enforcement tactics. The Supreme Court lifting restrictions on ICE agents operating in California, allowing them to target, stop, and detain people based solely on their race, the fact that they speak Spanish, where they gather, or what type of work they do. Factors that a lower court judge had deemed unconstitutional. The Fourth Amendment, of course, protects against unlawful searches and seizures.
The White House is denying that the sexually suggestive letter and drawing allegedly sent from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein 22 years ago was done by Trump. The House Oversight Committee released it last night. The Israeli military is urging a full evacuation of Gaza City ahead of its planned expanded offensive. Hundreds of thousands of people say they have nowhere else to go. Hundreds are staging a sit-in. This is ABC News.
Local news, weather, and sports on air and streaming on the Civic Media app. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Starting today, you can expect slower traffic on Willie Street during rush hour. Usually, street parking is banned during the heaviest traffic in the morning and evening, but the city's Transportation Commission voted last month to bring parking back. It's an attempt to solve safety issues on Willie Street, where cars crashing into buildings is more common than in other areas of the city. Someone crashed into Mother Fools in May. That's the third time the building's been hit. Willie Street Treasure Shop, Change Boutique, and Halong Bay have all had cars ram into their buildings. The Marquette Neighborhood Association pushed for changes, specifically to get rid of the rush hour parking ban. According to Yang Tao from the Traffic Division, they'll also be asking for your feedback.
I'm going to use the public feedback, right? I'm pretty sure people are going to share that experience with us. And so we're developing a survey right now. We'll make sure to capture those and also make sure that, we broadcast, the survey is available.
Now, this change is only temporary. It starts today and will end in about 6 weeks. The Traffic Engineering Division will study traffic patterns and travel times. Meanwhile, another big project starts soon. Next month, work begins to rebuild all of John Nolan Drive. It's quite an undertaking for one of the city's busiest ways to get downtown. It's expected to take about 2 years. Stage 1 is the southbound lanes of John Nolan, and that's set to start in just a few weeks toward the start of October. That part of the Capital City Trail will be closed too. There will be detours for bicyclists and pedestrians. There will be a public meeting for people to get more information about the project on September 22nd. It's a virtual meeting. You can attend from anywhere and ask questions, but you do have to register beforehand. You can find a link to register for the meeting on our website, WMDXradio.com. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
The Badgers head for Bama. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports.
All right.
Wisconsin Badgers.
Let's get Mr. Rennicke in here. Got that ready. And let's pop Jeff up there. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. You?
Good. Thank you for being flexible on the time here and jumping into this.
Problem. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. All right. You look good. You sound good. So we'll get this thing going with some weather in 2.5 minutes, and then we'll jump into the interview.
I'll be here.
All right. See you soon.
Fracture in his left foot. I asked how he was doing after Sunday's game against the Lions.
It feels great to win. I'm definitely hurting a little bit, but thank God we got some time to recover. Put my foot in some ice, and I'll feel better.
Baseball, the Brewers and the Rangers tonight in Texas. Milwaukee losing last night 5-0. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Come work with us. Civic Media has a number of great jobs across the state. Open now at civicmedia.us/careers.
I'm meteorologist Brandon Bormans. Some stellar September weather continues today with mostly sunny skies, high temperatures in the mid-70s. Now, a slow-moving front will inch into the area tonight, and that could lead to a shower or a thunderstorm. A lot of the area stays dry, though, mostly cloudy with a low of 56. Currently, it's 55 degrees.
Shop Furlough Mattress during our Labor Day sale. It's our biggest sale of the season. Get a free box spring with a mattress purchase, or upgrade to an adjustable base and save even more. At Furlough, every mattress we make is factory direct and custom made locally for you, and it's backed by our lifetime comfort guarantee. Don't fall for the other guy's mattress gimmick.
Brittany is back.
Good
Hello.
morning.
How
Sorry
you
about
doing?
yesterday.
That's all
Good.
right.
How are you?
Good, good. I mean, a girl's got a kayak when you get the itch, or,
Right?
or whatever. Yep. So, all right. I suppose I should pull up a radar here, huh? Let's see.
It's been a interesting wet morning in
I was gonna
Ashland.
say, are we? Oh, is it? Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Oh, it's still way up there. It looks like it wants to rain here. There's a little blob of something. Oh, but yeah, it's a little busy up north there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. 20 seconds.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Hey, good morning. It is 7:06. It's nice to have you here up north on this Tuesday morning, September 9th. Nice to have you up north here on Lake Wissota. Then there's people like Jeff Rennicke who go, you're not up north. He's up north. And we'll talk to him about Friends of the Apostle Islands and just basically what is the state of our national parks and related areas as we are now 7-8 months into the Trump administration's willful neglect of our national parks and other areas. So Jeff Rennicke coming up in just a bit. And then a little later on this hour, dairy farmer Hans Breitenmoser and Sheila Everhart of the Wisconsin Agricultural Tourism Association will talk a bit more about the growth of tourism across rural Wisconsin. But first, let's bring in meteorologist Brittany Merlot, because speaking of the Ashland area, it looks on my radar view like they've been the unwitting victims of some training of some heavy rain that's just scrolling right across that northern edge of the state. Brittany, good morning. How are things looking?
Good morning. Yes, Highway 2 looks pretty wet out there. A flash flood warning is in effect. Pretty much that Ashland area off of Highway 2, about 1.5 to 3 inches have already fallen. Thankfully, it's looking like it's easing up and starting to move out of the area, but it doesn't mean you're done yet. We're still looking at rain chances sparking up later this morning, more numerous and starting to move towards central Wisconsin by this afternoon. And then by this evening and tomorrow morning, headed towards the Madison and Fox Valley area. So a cloudier day today. We are looking at temperatures making it to the mid-60s up north where the clouds are going to be hanging out. A little bit more spots of sunshine down south today. Mid-70s are expected. Same temperatures tomorrow, too, as the system continues to work through the state. Tomorrow we'll see more sunshine further northwest. More of that rain starting to try to make its way towards Madison and, like I said, the Fox Valley, but it does ease up and die out. You're not looking at heavy rainfall amounts. While today, we still have that risk of a good 1 to 3 inches possible in parts of central Wisconsin. So we could see more flash flood warnings going out throughout the day, but by Thursday and Friday and even into this weekend, we're looking at a major warm up. By Friday, we're going to hit about 80 degrees throughout the state, and we're going to hold on to that for the weekend, and it's going to get a little bit muggy too. So summer is back, and it's around the corner.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yay.
then, yeah, summer can come back for a little bit longer. I don't mind that. This little taste of fall was fine. Now, again, we don't know where everything's going to develop exactly, but I will say that what's happening in northern Dunn County right now, because I looked out the window, it's like, it's starting to look a little ominous here, like it wants to rain. And sure enough, on the radar, little something's forming in Dunn County. Whether it's one of those scattered things that comes and goes, I don't know. But some folks in the Chippewa Valley looks like we're about to get some sprinkles on our windshield, whether we like it or not. But
don't forget that umbrella today.
Yeah, glad to hear about the warm up that's on the way. Let's see, from Rob in Tigerton, we get good morning. It's partly cloudy, 54 degrees. Yesterday was a very beautiful day. Oh, was it ever? I ditched the hoodie at 9 a.m., mowed 4 yards in the Wittenberg area. Says he was on the homecoming court for Tigerton his senior year, one of the rewards of playing football for a small town football team back in 1985. Said he loved watching the Vikings come from behind to beat the Bears last night. Way back in 1961, the Minnesota Vikings' first ever win was a 37-14 victory over the Bears. And he says, I love going to parks for the fall colors. We'll be talking about national parks in just a bit. It says, I have to get my tire fixed on my John Deere. It has a slow air leak, and I've got to air it up once a week to get that problem solved. I think we should look for a more permanent fix there, Rob. Yeah, let's do that. And Brittany is the best meteorologist. Civic Media should be honored to have the best meteorologist. Look at
Thank
that.
you, Rob.
Gosh,
Oh,
yeah. Tony notes that it has been raining in Ashland since last night and says, yes, he thinks that they have a flood warning up there. So that's, it looks like it's just going to be doing that thing for a while. So
it sure is. It sure is. Oh,
Yeah.
and I got a comment on last night's game. That was fantastic because did you realize that the quarterback for the Vikings, right? He's not only the youngest, he looks like a little baby. He's so cute, right? But he's from Chicago. So he beat Chicago there. So at his hometown, and that's cool to me.
I did not know that about JJ McCarthy. I'm just glad I'm thinking about somebody other than Mike McCarthy. I'm glad that we've got JJ McCarthy to look forward to now. Yes.
Mike McCarthy got a really good reception, though. He was at honored at halftime because they were doing the 2010 Super Bowl team at the Packer game, and he got a really big standing ovation. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing for Mike McCarthy. Yeah, we were happy to kind of boo him when he was with Dallas and all that, but he never trashed Green Bay. And, he never went the whole diva route. And so, he comes back in and compare that to two former quarterbacks and where the reception's been a little bit different. So, if you want to move on from Green Bay, that's fine. Just don't be a diva. That's all we ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harf had like a good day. When they retired his number, he was well received that day.
Well, yes, he was. Yes. But in part, it was in part because we'd seen how well he did with the Jets and with the Vikings. And
true.
That felt good. It's like, see, buddy, we're the place you want to be.
Right.
This is it. Yeah. All right, Brittany, thank you so much. We'll talk to you next hour.
Sounds good.
All right. Again, you can sign up for our newsletter at Up North News. Head over to upnorthnewswi.com. We'd love to have you a subscriber there. Also, let me tell you something. Everybody loves a bargain, okay? But the kind of bargain you can get at our national parks right now, it's not necessarily a good one if you want to keep our parks healthy and if you want to keep them around in the future. So now that it's Labor Day and beyond, it might be a good time to review how things have gone in our national parks generally and our National Lakeshore, the Apostle Islands specifically. And so let's bring in for our Way Up North segment, Jeff Rennicke from Friends of the Apostle Islands. Jeff, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Nice to join you from the wet shores of Lake Superior.
Yes, it most certainly is. Now, you and I both had seen the same New York Times article about the impact that President Trump's willful neglect of our national parks has had. There are 433 parks, and about a quarter of them have been significantly strained and understaffed because of the cuts. And then there's this whole notion when I talked about a bargain. They're so understaffed that there's, in many cases, nobody collecting fees that you should be paying for the upkeep of our parks. And so the trash is piling up and everything. But, again, with people not paying, it kind of becomes like a doom loop. And Jeff, among the many things I'm sure you want to discuss, that has to be a very concerning one.
Oh, very much so. The whole season has been concerning. Going into your busy season with a 24% reduction in permanent staffing, a hiring freeze, only about half the seasonal workers you usually hire, budget clampdowns, and frankly, historically low morale is not exactly a recipe for success. But I do have to say that despite the dire predictions, the summer season in our national parks generally went off relatively successfully. There were some closures and bumps in the road, sometimes literally because they didn't have any money to fix the roads. But there were no major disasters. And I think we should begin with a testament to the grit and the fortitude and the professionalism of our men and women of the National Park Service who went above and beyond the call of duty. But as you hint at, the warning signs are flashing red.
Yeah, well, without a doubt. And again, despite the best efforts, you have people who, go off trails like in Yellowstone and they get burned by some of the, the thermal vents that are there. You've always got the people who are trying to pet the fluffy cows. Please leave the bison alone, boys and girls. They're not, it's not a petting zoo. And I make light of what could get to be a bad thing. And again, I don't think either one of us is intentionally trying to be overly half full or half empty on this, except to say that there is an adequate staffing level, there is an adequate revenue level to get the most out of our national parks. And this administration, which has yet to nominate someone to run the National Park Service, does not appear to be interested in reaching that adequate staffing or funding level. So, I mean, it's gone great. It's gone okay so far, Jeff, but I guess what we're saying is, don't get complacent about this.
No, because some of these problems will be long term, and some of them were pretty minor. I mean, we mentioned the garbage pickup and the clean bathrooms. Those are inconveniences, and they have no place in our national parks, our crown jewels. But as you hint at, there's some very big concerns. Things like in Voyageurs National Park, for instance, they were down to 4 out of 7 emergency response workers, and they had to limit their emergency responses to just 4 days a week out of the 7 days. In a place like Zion, another park in Utah, they get 500 emergency calls a summer season, and their staff for emergency response was down by 10%. Now, luckily, there wasn't this year any major problems that they weren't able to deal with, but it's coming. Sooner or later there will be something that they're not quite able to stand up and make happen the way they should.
We are talking to Jeff Rennicke from Friends of the Apostle Islands about some of the cuts to the National Park Service and the impact of them. Lawmakers in Congress from both parties have been rather skeptical of the Trump cuts. There is Senator Angus King, independent of Maine, who said, if the Park Service is overstaffed, if there's waste, show it to us. Show us the data. Show us the number of people, where they are, which positions you feel are unnecessary and shouldn't be funded, which is the kind of thing we've said at the whole general level about government waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, show us. Don't just point to a big number and say, gosh, that's a big number, but point to the specific thing that you think is waste or abuse, and have to be able to defend that. So you've got millions of people out there, Jeff, who love our national parks. How can people help if they want to express their opinions?
Well, the next big challenge, of course, is the budget fight, which we all know is coming up before October 1st. And I think there's a crack showing in the administration's attack on the parks. The Trump administration's skinny budget suggested a $1.2 billion cut for the National Park Service budget. That's 37%. The House Committee on Public Land said, well, thank you very much, but they suggested a $176 million cut, which is only 6%. So there's a battle brewing, which makes it a perfect time for people who love our national parks to stand up, make their opinions heard by discussing this with their representatives and joining groups like Friends of the Apostle Islands.org to try to make their voices heard for our crown jewels.
Very good. And, again, we did talk about kind of some of the overarching problems at the national parks. I guess we'll end specifically about the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore. Any impacts this year or any concerns for the future that you wanted to lay out there for our listeners?
Yeah, let me give you 2 very quickly. First of all, it was a very successful season here, again, because of the great job of the Park Service people, a staff that was cut almost by 2/3, including the loss of the chief ranger and our superintendent. But so except for things like there was no ranger-led tours at the Michigan Island Lighthouse, relatively small things, it wasn't really visible to the general public. But let me give you an example of the domino effect here. We talked about those uncollected fees in places like Zion National Park. Well, 80% of those fees you pay at a park like Zion or the Grand Canyon or Yellowstone stay in the park. But that other 20% go into a pool, which is dispersed among parks like the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore that doesn't have its own fee collection. So it's a domino effect hurting us here too.
Yeah. And so even if you can bypass the fees, make a donation and show your support for our national parks. Jeff Rennicke with Friends of the Apostle Islands, thank you very much for all this background and helping to build support for our national parks. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks for the opportunity.
You bet. All right. Still ahead, we'll be talking about rural tourism opportunities as we escape to Wisconsin, as the old bumper sticker used to say. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Oh, Mr. Hagan is getting in place here now.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing?
Life is good up here. A little chilly, but that's fall.
Yep. So, what have you been doing for fun and excitement?
Oh, man, I have been playing a lot of pickleball, as you know. Still with the Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm in a volleyball league. That will be ending shortly. But then again, the roller skiing as well.
Oh, that's right. We got to take that Berkey training seriously.
That's right. It's coming up quicker than you'd think.
Yep. Oh no.
Are you back to 100%? I thought you had an elbow or something.
Yeah, I took a week off. Good memory, Parker. Yeah, I took a week off, and I'm feeling better now.
Okay. So pickleball is working.
Oh, it doesn't. You're taking notes on this.
Yeah, because I do. I forget very quickly. Things just come right in and out, and like, okay.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yep.
Yeah, and I got a couple things we could talk about today.
Sure.
Okay, so today is the 10-year anniversary of Einar Ingman dying, and he was one of 5 Medal of Honor recipients from the Korean War from Wisconsin. He was the only one who was a survivor who actually received it, not posthumously.
Oh.
And the post office and the VFW in Tomahawk are named after him.
Oh, okay. I like that. Okay.
And then,
and what's the other?
There's a thing called Custom Robotics in Mosinee, and this guy makes decoys of animals that can like move around.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like poachers to catch poachers.
That is cool.
Yeah.
All right. I like that. Good. All right. Thank you for that. And we've got 20 seconds here.
Okay.
$7:22 right now on this Tuesday morning, September 9th, where it is 61 degrees here in the Chippewa Valley and 57 degrees at the Crimson Cafe in Rhinelander. And we head to Rhinelander to bring in Dan Hagan from Newswatch 12, WJFW TV. Mr. Hagan, how are you?
I'm doing well. I have this morning routine from these fitness influencers where I go outside and get some natural light. I don't know if you've heard about this phenomenon, but I've been doing it. It's getting harder and harder to do it.
Yeah, earlier and earlier, it gets darker and darker. So it does get a little tougher to get that natural light. I can't do it anymore before the show. In fact, today was the first day as Sherry was leaving for work a little after 5:30, where I had to again say, okay, now when you're leaving in the dark, do you want the garage lights on, off? What's the routine here? Because you're no longer leaving in the daylight for work, and that's not depressing at all. But
and apparently September loses like the most light, which I don't understand. I don't know why it's just equally, but it's like 90 minutes of light this month, unfortunately.
Yep, it's that whole planet on an axis and wobbles and things like that. So, so for you, that means what? Pickleball and volleyball season starting to wrap up.
Yeah, so my last week of beach volleyball season, sand volleyball season is this Thursday. Big kerfuffle trying to reschedule it because the Packer game is Thursday, and I do not want to miss that. So we're trying to reschedule it. But yeah, pickleball. I got a tournament this coming weekend, Clash of the Paddles in Rhinelander. So I can't wait to be crushed by some septuagenarians. It should be fun.
Yes. Look at you, still always trying to beat up on the old people, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it's quite embarrassing.
Most of the time, yeah.
Now, the thing about the sand volleyball, having taken part, back when I was your age, is the 2 times of the season that are a little bit rougher. One is when the sand is so hot, because the sun is staying up late. That one doesn't happen quite so often, but what you get this time of year is where the sand is really starting to get cold, and you kind of like, let's get this game over with. I want to put some shoes and socks back on here.
Yeah, we didn't have that too hot part up in Rhinelander, but I wore wool socks out on the sand volleyball court last Thursday to play. for the first time, and that was a strange experience.
Well, especially since doesn't the stand still find its way in anyway through, in between the fibers, and eventually it's like you're wearing sandbags on your feet, or you just picked better socks than I did?
Yeah, I think it worked better. I think you're probably going with the Hanes cotton. I went with the
Yes.
Smart Wool, and it worked out pretty well, even
Oh.
though I don't know if those socks will ever be clean again.
Right, to see they're game worn. That means they're worth more.
That's right,
When you,
yeah.
when you sell them at the WJFW souvenir shop, people will pay top dollar for that. Let's look at some of the stories you're following, and one is a very good, poignant reminder that there have been heroes among us. And if you're ever in the Tomahawk area, you might see a name that offers that reminder. And you've got a particular anniversary this week for Einar Ingman. Did I say that correctly?
That's right. Yeah, you did say it correctly. So 10 years ago, today, Einar Ingman passed away. He was one of 5 Medal of Honor recipients in the Korean War among Wisconsin service members. He was the only one of those 5 to receive it, not posthumously. So the other 4 passed away and then received their medals. And then he went on to live in the Tomahawk area for a long time. And like I said, the VFW library are both named after him. So you can catch that story on WJFW tonight if you're tuning in.
Oh, okay. Very nice. And I'm sure that we will find out probably a bit more about his life and the circumstances that led to him getting the Medal of Honor. And let's see, just a quick look here. So this was a Korean War action that he was an Army soldier for, that he received the Medal of Honor. And I'm sure there's some great stories about it.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head his exact reasoning for the Medal of Honor, but that requires an insane sacrifice. So good to remember him.
Yes. Oh, without a doubt. And let's see, as I was looking about the other stories that you're working on, what is this about? I love this. Robotic decoys?
Yeah, so this man in Mosinee, he owns a company, Custom Robotic Incorporated, and he makes animal decoys to catch poachers. So this could be deer, this could be elk, this could be wolves, and he makes it so their ears move, their paws move, they can move around. And the idea is he partners with kind of game wardens across the country to catch poachers. So pretty cool that's made right here in central Wisconsin.
That is extremely cool. And I think of, again, when we think of, robotics and all the other applications for it, it just, until you mentioned it just now, didn't occur to me. Yes, that's a perfect way to deal with the problem of poaching, is to have these robotic decoys that are out there.
That's right. And that brings me to the topic of hunting. I'm currently 0 for 4 on gun deer season here in northern Wisconsin. But my friend and I, we have purchased a crossbow together. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we've purchased a crossbow together. So my plan is to go crossbow hunting and hopefully get my first deer. And I think the season opens pretty soon, but I'll probably wait till October to really go for it.
Okay. Well, I mean, we wish you all the best with that. And, maybe there's a robotic decoy that you could bring along.
Yeah, maybe a doe.
Yeah.
Put some
a deer,
some scent on it as well. Yeah,
a female
right.
deer. Yeah. Okay. You see what I did there.
That's fun.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got the deer hunting, the pickleball, the volleyball, that are all happening. Truly, surely there's got to be Berkey training as well, because you're always training for the next Birkebeiner.
That's right. So the Birkebeiner will be the last weekend of February, and I'm going for my 12th one, and I need to beat my dad again. So yeah, I've been roller skiing. I signed myself up for a half marathon in October in 3 Lakes, which I would never do, but it's just to make sure that I'm in better shape for when the snow hits.
For again, trying to beat up on the old people. I get it.
Geez, there's a theme there.
Yep. Dan Hagan from Newswatch 12 in Rhinelander. Thank you, Dan, so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Pat.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your week. Coming up, we'll be talking to Hans Breitenmoser and Sheila Everhart from the Wisconsin Agricultural Tourism Association. Live from the lake. Thank you for spending some time here as part of your mornings, powered by Up North News. We will have more after the Midwest Farm Report here on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Pat Kreitlow. You're Up North.
Civic Media has a number of great jobs across the state. Open now at civicmedia.us/careers.
DAC
All right.
Cap is proposing an increase.
I am going to share this one here in the commercial break because, again, not to take anything away from Einar Engman, it's just not exactly morning radio fodder in describing how he came to be a Medal of Honor winner. He joined the Army at the age of 19, hoping to work with heavy machinery. After war broke out in Korea, he took up a rifle with the 7th Infantry. He was a 21-year-old corporal who'd already been wounded once in combat before an encounter on February 26, 1951. He was part of a platoon leading an advance on a ridge held by Chinese forces. His unit faced heavy machine gun fire, which wounded 2 squad leaders and several others. Engman took charge and radioed for tank and artillery support. He combined the fragmented forces of 2 squads and organized an assault, firing his rifle as he charged up the hill. After throwing a grenade into one machine gun nest, he used his rifle to mow down the remaining enemy soldiers. He then turned toward a second machine gun emplacement 15 yards away. A grenade exploded near his head, taking off part of his left ear and knocking him to the ground. As he rose to his feet, he was shot in the face just below his nose. The bullet exited his skull behind his left ear. Engman says he has no reflection of what happened next. The description came from his fellow soldiers, saying that despite being blinded in his left eye and losing many of his upper teeth, Engman continued his assault as blood poured from his wounds. He fired his rifle until his ammunition was depleted, then used his bayonet at close quarters, killing the entire Chinese machine gun crew. The Medal of Honor citation says, as a result of the singular action by Corporal Engman, the defense of the enemy was broken, his squad secured its objective, and more than 100 hostile troops abandoned their weapons and fled in disorganized retreat. Wow.
Wow.
This is all from his obituary from 10 years ago when he passed away at the age of 85, a Kakana native, but died at a hospital in Tomahawk 10 years ago now. And that is, again, our Medal of Honor winners are deserving of every bit of honor that we can possibly give, because those are things that save the lives of his friends. And war is not pretty, but it's war. And God bless him and for his service, for all he did to his country. All right, I wanted to share that there. I wasn't really sure it was radio friendly, so let's bring on Hans and Sheila here and start to turn our attention toward the segment coming up in less than 2 minutes here. Hans, how you doing today?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you, Pat?
Very good here. Yes, thank you, Tony. Good use of the secret show. That's exactly what we're here for. And how is Sheila today?
I'm fantastic. Sweater weather, flannel shirt weather. Love it.
Yes, exactly. So, okay. Look, and you did send me an email here. Oh,
I do.
Bless you. Okay. So we'll go right down the list here. So we'll be good. Hans, anything new by you? What you working on?
I got nothing.
No, you're not doing anything there. There's no, you did your fourth cutting already.
We did our fourth cutting. We hauled a bunch of manure, and we're going to burn down some corn today to test it for moisture to see when we can start chopping.
Okay, real good. All right, 60 seconds, and then we'll be there.
Has no middleman, so you'll get the comfort you want and save a whole lot of money. American made, locally crafted. Verlo.
Hey there, Wisconsin. Tom Hartman here. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so join me each and every weekday right here on Civic Media for the Tom Hartman program from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Covering the news of the day and sharing ways for you to get off the sidelines and get active in your community.
20 seconds.
right, as we do every other Tuesday here on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News, we visit with Lincoln County dairy farmer Hans Breitenmoser, who is quite frequently joined by Sheila Everhart of the Wisconsin Agricultural Tourism Association. And of course, the state assembly is coming back into session. We don't know the status yet of the state Senate, and we'll get into that more an hour from now with Dan Schaefer from the recombobulation area. But there are definitely bills that the legislature needs to be taking up and working on. And Sheila's going to talk to us about a little bit of that coming up in just a sec. But first, as we check in with Hans, hey, good morning. We know it's getting to be that time of year, harvesting, things like that. I was looking at the statewide conditions here, and the fourth cutting of hay across the state is 65% complete, 9 days ahead of last year, 5 days ahead of average. Corn condition is rated 82% good to excellent. Corn for silage, 10% harvested. I always say these things because Hans feels like it's a report card for how he's doing.
It is. I always feel like it's a report card, but this time I got one good grade because our fourth crop is harvested.
All right.
So I'm ahead of the curve finally on one thing that you mentioned.
how are things looking otherwise?
Not too bad. Not too bad. We did harvest our fourth crop the week before last, actually, and then we hauled a bunch of manure this past week. So this week we're thinking about getting ready for corn silage harvest. We're a little ways off, but today we're going to burn some corn down, which means we take some stalks out of the fields that we intend to harvest for silage, and we burn them down to basically we grind them up, burn them down is what they call it, to get all the moisture out to determine what in fact the moisture level of the whole plant is, and that will drive our decision making on when we should start harvesting corn silage. Of course, there's plenty of other variables because the weather has to cooperate and custom guys have to cooperate and all the other things. But we're looking to see what the moisture is now, so we can sort of plan for when that corn might be chopped.
Okay. All kinds of things that have to come together. And let's bring in Sheila Everhart as well. And Sheila, I know we're going to be talking about policy and tourism and things like that. But, we always talk about Hans's little farm. I'm sure you're talking to folks as well. And what kind of condition things have been in so far for harvest and field work. How are you?
We're doing great. So last week we did corn silage as well down on the farm here in Rock County, Wisconsin. And we're just monitoring to see when our harvest will be starting. And of course, about 3 weeks ago, we had our fourth cut of hay done.
Okay. Well, let's turn to the legislative session now that the state budget is passed and summer break is over. And so the assembly will be meeting shortly. Committees are meeting once again. And so you've got some legislation that you're following. And one of the first ones, Assembly Bill 413, that's the one about camping regulations when it comes to farms, correct?
Yes, that's farm stay, we call that. With the ongoing changes in the farming industry, farmers face increasing challenges to operate. Farm stays can provide additional opportunities for small farms to diversify their incomes, making their family farms solvent and supporting future generations on the farm. This is agricultural tourism, which boosts tourism in our rural economies. It brings economic growth to those rural areas, and it educates the public on the importance of agriculture. So this legislation would allow farmers to operate a campground on their farm without a campground license for the purpose of educating the public through on-farm experiences and providing opportunities to diversify the farm income. To qualify, it must be on a working farm. You would be identified as one parcel and have no more than 3 sites. So that is the Assembly Bill 413 that has been assigned to the Committee on Forests, Parks, and Recreation. And I provided the link for you, Pat. In the Senate bill on that is Senate Bill 415 that has been assigned to the Senate Committee on Ag and Revenue.
And then you're also looking as well to the legislature to continue working on a follow-up bill to the entire overhaul of liquor licensing and its impact on, so-called wedding barns and other farm venues. And you're still working to get that that draft finished and get the bill assigned to a committee. Is that right?
Yes, so there's been work on that. We're really working hard to get it correct. We need it numbered and assigned to a committee in the month of September. Right now, it's LRB 2567-P3 because it's had 3 revisions. And I've also provided you, Pat, with a PDF of a loss of tax revenue document that identifies that if this is not corrected, the state of Wisconsin will be losing a lot of tax revenue, especially in our room taxes of our hotels that are booked because of these on-farm weddings, as well as sales tax revenue that will be lost.
So again, these are pieces of legislation that will help with expanding farm operations, ways to diversify their business model, and all of that builds on what is already a growing agricultural tourism sector here in Wisconsin. And I know that you attached as well a proclamation from the governor's office proclaiming that this is going to be Wisconsin agricultural tourism fall season. And essentially, Sheila, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically saying, look, there's all the usual places you could go on a weekend road trip around Wisconsin, but consider expanding your horizons and looking for opportunities to engage in agricultural tourism, right?
Yes, we're so proud. September 11th through November 2nd is Wisconsin's agricultural tourism fall season. Pat, agricultural tourism is one of the fastest growing segments in both agriculture and tourism. It's revitalizing our rural economies, preserving farmland, allowing families to keep their farm operational for generations. But besides that, it plays a vital role in reconnecting people with agriculture. Guests want to learn where their food comes from and why stewardship of the land matters and how our farmers are essential for everyday life. So it's going to the apple orchard and getting fresh apple cider. It's going to the pumpkin patches and picking your pumpkins. It's attending a class on a farm, maybe learn to have some heritage cooking classes and maybe making some sourdough bread. It's tasting farm fresh ice cream made on a farm like Sassy Cow Creamery, Vesperman Farms, or Kelly's Country Creamery. It's tasting fresh cheese curds at the Phelps Dairy Farm. It's going out and experiencing life on a farm and being disconnected from your tablet, however, or your iPhone. But we also have, Pat, what is really cool is the Wisconsin Maize Challenge. The Wisconsin Agricultural Maize Challenge, because we want you to get out in a cornfield and we want you to get lost, but then find your way out of that cornfield. So we're having a contest. We invite you to visit a family farm, experience a corn maze, use your navigational skills and find your way out. Take a picture of your visit, post it to Facebook or Instagram with the hashtag WATA Maze, WATA Maze, and then we will have weekly winners of that WATA Maze Challenge.
The proclamation from the governor's office, talks about along with everything that's done for, food and feeding the state and feeding America and, the millions of dollars generated for the tourism industry as well. Farm to table events, corn mazes, pumpkin patches, harvest festivals, pick your own orchards, farm stays, scenic venues for weddings and celebrations, and so much more. Hans, it comes down to that diversification where not every farmer is going to be doing any one of these things, but the ones who want to, the opportunities are there to, again, maybe take a break from some of the, shall we say, cliche places to go and find some place new across, rural Wisconsin.
Absolutely. And And I mean, as far as getting lost in a cornfield, if that happens to me, that means my heifer's busted through the fence and went into the cornfield, and I'm chasing them around. And it's usually dark when that's happening.
I was going to say, or raining.
That's and yes, and raining. So
the one thing I know from marrying from a farm girl is if she sees, and she has seen cows out before, and again, it's raining or close to dark. They never pick, oh, it's a nice sunny day, I'm going to break through the fence here. No, doesn't work that way at all.
Nope. If you've ever chased heifers through a cornfield in the middle of the night, that's an ag adventure right there. But one thing, and we've had this conversation before, as far as the economic impact, I think is huge, and that ability for people who are a few generations away from the farm to get reconnected with agriculture, both in terms of modern agriculture and what's happening with ag right now, but also having that connection to our history. And there's a lot of ag related history, obviously, in the state of Wisconsin. So it's all good.
Yeah. And then finally, the Wisconsin Farmers Union will have a fly-in in Washington, D.C. Sheila, are you taking that one, or is Hans talking about what happens for the fly-in?
Well, they're actually there now.
Okay.
There's 16 to 20 farmers that are in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol at the fly-in meeting with our elected officials there. They're working through their special orders of business, which is, working on climate change and farming, quality healthcare in Wisconsin, creating fair maps, and concentration in the agricultural industry. And so we're really proud of our farmers that took the time away from their farms to fly out to Washington, D.C. for a few days and meet with our elected officials in their offices in their Capitol buildings.
And I mean, Hans, you've been to DC and Madison, right, for lobbying efforts, and so you know just what these folks are doing. And sometimes it's an opportunity, sometimes it's a challenge to talk to their elected officials.
Well, I think it's both, but it's very important. And my hat's off to the farmers who have gone on these things and take the time away from their farms, because it is tough to get away for a few days like that, and sometimes feeling like you might be talking to people who aren't maybe very receptive, but it is a chance to have a seat at the table and talk with staff members and talk with your policymakers and so forth. So it's very, very, very important, and regardless of the topic. But of course, Farmers Union is bringing a lot of things to the table, a lot of issues to the table. A lot of the issues that we've talked about, climate change mitigation and antitrust legislation, things that are so important to our rural economies. And so it's definitely very, very important work. And my hat's off to the folks who took the time.
So again, to learn more, head over to wiagtourism.com. Again, wiagtourism.com to learn about the Corn Maze Challenge and corn mazes, fairs and festivals, pick your owns, vineyards, farm stays, and much more. Sheila Everhart brings that to us from the Wisconsin Agricultural Tourism Association. Sheila, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Pat. We always appreciate your support of the agricultural tourism industry.
Absolutely. And Hans Breitenmoser, dairy farmer up near Merrill. Hans, good to talk to you as well. Take care out there.
Thank you. See you guys.
You bet. Good to have both of you around again. We talk to Hans every other week, and we always appreciate when he brings Sheila Everhart around as well, because there's so much more that we can be learning here. Our Tuesday 1-2 political punch with Dan Schaefer and Cam Stevenson, live from Washington, D.C., still on the way. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. All right, there we go. All right, Hans, all good there?
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, you bet. Hey, I want to let you know we got that group of people from up in the Ashland Bayfield area. They wanted to have a rotating series of guests from up in that neck of the woods.
Okay.
And it started so well that they've now committed to an every other Tuesday thing. So after the longest time trying to find the right, counterbalance to this, we've got it pretty well locked in now that you can really count on every other Tuesday, because this other group they too are going to go every other Tuesday. So we hopefully, again, barring holidays and things like that, won't have to ask you too many more times to be flexible and change dates around. We should be in a good rhythm here.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I did make a few connections at Farm Tech Days, but Sheila, she's got us booked out until quite a long time. But I did manage to come up with a few interesting people over the course of time that we can get on as well. So
well, and we can always, either ask Sheila to share the segment or move something, or we can do a special. We don't always have to do Tuesday. We can do a separate one some other day. If there's a guest you really want to get on, just let me know what you'd like.
Yeah. And then just real quick before you got to jump off, and I got to go too, but I was talking with my wife last night, who's a midwife, and she's up to her elbows in the whole OBGYN hospital closures, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
She was talking with somebody who she thought too would be a good guest on your show. If you're interested, it wouldn't be with my segment per se, but if you're interested in that whole realm, we might be able to hook you up with somebody who's interested in talking about it.
I most definitely am. Please be in touch about that.
Right on. We'll see if we can get you hooked up.
Okay. Thanks a lot. See you later,
Thanks,
Hans. Yep. Bye.
Fitzgerald. The original House version would have nominally cut over $1.6 trillion over 10 years. The final version cut even less, $1.2 trillion. With $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, the act will increase federal debt by a massive $3.3 trillion over the next decade. Nonpartisan analysts say the plan's cuts would rank behind a 2011 law's $2 trillion in spending cuts. As a percentage of GDP, it doesn't rank in the top 5%. I'm Trisha Young for Wisconsin Watch. Fact Briefs are bite-sized fact checks of trending claims produced by Wisconsin Watch and GigaFact. Learn more at wisconsinwatch.org.
Found an injured, sick, or orphaned wild animal? Dane County Humane Society's Wildlife Center can help. Call 608-287-3235 or visit giveshelter.org.
$7:52 the time now on this Tuesday. It is 61 degrees here in Chippewa Falls. It is 55 degrees at Michelangelo's Coffee House on State Street there in Madison, right near Parker Olson. And it's in Madison where we go to our next story about, the headline is from the Isthmus down in Madison, but the story is about the Wisconsin State Journal, a reporter there. And more importantly, it's about AI and newsrooms overall. The headline from the Isthmus says, Wisconsin State Journal reporter fired for AI misuse speaks out. It says Audrey Court takes blame for what she calls the biggest mistake of her career, but also wants to set the record straight. And so just going to read a little bit from the story here from Judy Davidoff, the reporter, saying that Audrey Court had been with the State Journal for just a couple of months when summer vacations in the newsroom started piling up. Eager to be accommodating and productive, she agreed to cover a story for a colleague who was taking a mid-July break. The assignment was to report on the proposals that had been submitted to the city of Madison for the development of a lot in the 300 block of East Washington Avenue. The story that Court ultimately submitted was published online and across the top of the front page of the Sunday, July 13th State Journal. It contained several factual errors and was ultimately pulled from the site. A re-reported story was published on July 17th with an editor's note explaining that the original story, quote, contained incorrect information and quotes that were created by the unauthorized use of AI, which does not adhere to the Wisconsin State Journal's editorial or ethical standards, end quote. Court says she was fired the same day by her executive editor, who called her on the phone along with someone from Human Resources on the line. So the question becomes not just, about the use of AI, but as the article notes, how it is that Court's story made it through the editing process. Because the reporter stories don't go right into a newspaper or right into a website. There is still an editorial chain that is out there. And court says she takes full responsibility for the story's multiple factual inaccuracies, including a made-up source, which she attributes to the use of a company-installed AI program on her work computer. But she says there is more to the story, including a breakdown of editorial oversight and an understaffed newsroom. She said she was terminated without a formal investigation and was not given a chance to explain herself to her superiors or her colleagues. She says, quote, "I don't think the newspaper acted with fairness, transparency, accuracy, or accountability. That's why I'm here," talking to the Isthmus. "I'm trying to set the record straight. I feel it is my duty as a journalist to provide answers. Journalists don't take an oath of duty," she says, "but I try to live my life as if I did." And it notes that before joining the State Journal, Court was the lone news reporter at the Chippewa Herald here in Chippewa Falls, where she wrote stories, took photos, created video and audio reports, producing between 7 and 16 articles a week, she says. "My numbers were staggering." And because her work was getting some attention, she did get an attractive offer to cover local government for the Wisconsin State Journal. And then the article goes on to explain what all happened from there. But it was noting that she was the lone news reporter at the Chippewa Herald that, of course, caught my eye, along with, again, she says it's staggering, the workload, and she's absolutely right. The Chippewa Herald used to be a local newsroom with a whole bunch of reporters, as have been so many small newspapers, small TV stations, small radio stations, where it was pretty rare, especially in the case of a newspaper, for one person to essentially do it all. Listen to what she said. "I wrote stories, took photos, created video and audio reports, producing between 7 and 16 articles a week." So now it's time for Grandpa to give you a back in my day thing. Okay. Working for a small TV station in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. You picked out a story, some days 2 stories, but oftentimes it was your story of the day. You'd make some phone calls, you'd do some research, and you'd go out and do an interview or 2. Not by yourself. You would have a photographer with you, a professional who knew how to frame shots and get good video so that you could concentrate on doing the story. You'll recall in the last hour, I talked about the fawning coverage of Derrick Van Orden at a local event in Galesville, which, again, I don't know for sure, but I would not be surprised to hear that it was a reporter who had to get the press release or find out about the event, go down there, talk to people, try to take notes while at the same time shooting some video and taking some photographs, turning things into a broadcast story for a newscast, but then into a website story as well, and then into a social media post. Now, this reporter's use of artificial intelligence, or AI, was not proper. And I don't think she would disagree that there might be some level of discipline that's involved. But a case like this should not merely be judged on the use of AI, but put it in the context of the business model that TV, radio, newspapers, and digital media sites are putting their staffs through, where you're not working one story a day, you're doing multiple stories a day, and you're not doing the one duty of reporting. You're a videographer, you're a video editor, you're a social media manager now at this point. And while some people can do that to a certain degree, I mean, there's an amount of multitasking we all do in our various jobs. I think we all understand that. But there comes a point in any given job at which you can only keep so many plates spinning at one time. That leads to the temptation to take shortcuts. And then when that particular plate can't keep spinning and comes crashing to the ground, it's the person who's being overworked who is held solely responsible for it. And that's not right. These places are businesses. They are looking to make a profit and not lose money, but they are also employers who have an obligation to their employees as well as to their audience to make sure that journalism is done as well as can be, and not setting up the circumstances that tempt somebody to take shortcuts or worse, to burn out, which is why so many newsrooms just keep getting smaller and smaller. Remember, you can follow my team all day at upnorthnewswi.com. We'll be talking to Cam Stevenson from Below the Beltway and from Courier Newsroom coming up next. You're Up North. And there's Cam now.
Hey, Pat, I was so engaged with your show, I almost forgot to join StreamYard.
That's fine.
I was watching it on my phone. I was like, oh, shoot, I got to get in there.
Okay, good. Let's see. You covered, what did it say, 4A and racial profiling with Joe Arpaio. Okay. Yeah. Love to get into that. We have not, because I've not touched earlier on in the show. I said, this racial profiling thing is a giant story. It's an earthquake from the Supreme Court. And I said, we may not get into it till our 8 o'clock hour. So this will be our whole introduction to the issue today.
Oh,
and
good.
So, yeah, I definitely appreciate, and we probably won't have time for all of these, but I'm really glad you've got some Arizona experience to bring to the story. So that's definitely where we'll go for starters.
Okay, excellent. And then, if we want to get into Epstein, there's a million things we could talk about.
Oh, yeah. And the others I can just drop in either in that segment or later on as well. So I think we're good to go. How have things been so far?
It's been a good first, last week was the first week back on the job. It's been good. Couple roadblocks, having trouble getting credentials.
Was there hazing? Like, does Hallie Jackson, make you, she'll hold your head underwater for a while, see how long you can hold your breath, or whatever those mean DC correspondents do. I don't know.
Don Lemon, he wanted to play chicken on the Metro tracks, but.
Oh man. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad things are going well. And all right, we'll get going in about 4 minutes here. So stand by.
Awesome.
They have all had cars ram into their buildings. The Marquette Neighborhood Association pushed for changes specifically to get rid of the rush hour parking ban. According to Yang Tao from the traffic division, they'll also be asking for your feedback.
I'm going to use the public feedback. I'm pretty sure people are going to share that experience with us. And so we're developing a survey right now. We'll make sure to capture those and also make sure that, we broadcast, the survey is available.
Now, this change is only temporary. It starts today and will end in about 6 weeks. The Traffic Engineering Division will study traffic patterns and travel times. Meanwhile, another big project starts soon. Next month, work begins to rebuild all of John Nolan Drive. It's quite an undertaking for one of the city's busiest ways to get downtown. It's expected to take about 2 years. Stage 1 is the southbound lanes of John Nolan, and that's set to start in just a few weeks toward the start of October. That part of the Capital City Trail will be closed too. There will be detours for bicyclists and pedestrians. There will be a public meeting for people to get more information about the project on September 22nd. It's a virtual meeting. You can attend from anywhere and ask questions, but you do have to register beforehand. You can find a link to register for the meeting on our website, WMDXradio.com. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
Brewer baseball tonight. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Game 2 of the Brewers and Rangers tonight in Texas. Milwaukee losing last night 5-0, but one bright spot was the return of Christian Yelich to the lineup. Yelly had missed the past 5 games with a bad back. Pat Murphy after the game.
Yeah, he's on it. It was a great day for him. Came up kind of empty, got one hit, but he hit two other balls that, they're homers in some parks.
NFL, the Packers host the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. I asked Micah Parsons how he was holding up after just a week to get ready for the Lions game.
Physically, obviously draining. That was like my first game of just constant snaps, repetition, things like that. So obviously I got to, recover, do everything I need to do to get ready for Thursday. But emotionally, I couldn't be more happy, to get my first win in Lambeau, having amazing fans. I told J-Lo that's our first one, and I can't wait to keep stacking them.
That's Packers defensive end Micah Parsons with sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
Come work with us. Civic Media has a number of great jobs across the state. Open now at civicmedia.us/careers.
Hi, meteorologist Brandon Bormans. Some stellar September weather continues today with mostly sunny skies, high temperatures in the mid-70s. Now, a slow-moving front will inch into the area tonight, and that could lead to a shower or a thunderstorm. A lot of the area stays dry, though, mostly cloudy with a low of 56. Current temperature is 54.
The John and Gordy Show.
We're talking with Mike McCabe. We have this whole thing where people's jobs are being replaced with AI and robots.
Yeah. We have to make sure that just all of the proceeds, the savings that are achieved by replacing people with machines just don't go into the pockets of the billionaires. You've got to have a society where the benefits of technological advancements are widely shared.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app. The Todd Albaugh Show.
Sugared soda or diet soda? What's worse? Mr. Jeff Perry.
Sugared sodas are worse.
Really?
I think that Coke Zero is better than regular Coke.
Kurt, listen on MDX of Madison.
Diet sodas are terrible because it fools the brain in producing insulin. If you don't care about your body, go for it.
Jeffrey says, I think it's pretty obvious that I don't.
The Todd Albaugh Show.
20 seconds.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
It's 8:06 now. Good morning. Nice to have you back here up north on this Tuesday morning, September 9th, 2025. Parker Olson producing us down there in Madison Studio A2. Coming up, our Tuesday tag team of Capitol Corridor correspondents with Cam Stevenson standing by live in Washington, D.C. Dan Schaefer from the recombobulation area covering the Wisconsin legislature will join us at the bottom of the hour. But first, let's get a quick update of the weather forecast from meteorologist Brittany Merlot, where yesterday's picture perfect sunny breezy conditions have been replaced with clouds and some rain, especially the further north you go. It just looks a little messy up there this morning on the shore.
It sure does. Flash flood warning in the Ashland area still for another hour and a half. Highway 2 got about 1.5 to 3 inches, and there's still more rain on the way today. Also, a beach hazard statement from Door County through Sheboygan. High waves and rip currents out there, about 3 to 5 feet. What we're looking at this morning, 45 degrees in Watoma, 54 in Milwaukee, and 64 degrees in Eau Claire. So a 30-degree temperature spread. Clear skies south in the state, more clouds north in the state. We've got showers going on up north that are going to continue through this afternoon and then become more widespread as we go through this evening. Now that's going to stay north in the state. Madison, Milwaukee area, you're not looking at any rainfall until possibly tomorrow morning, but I do think a lot of that's going to dissipate and not even make its way to you. So rain up north could be heavy at times, no severe storms. Highs today in the mid-60s north to mid-70s south.
But then we get summer back.
We do. As soon as Thursday and into Friday, we're looking at highs hitting 80. We're going to climb to the mid-80s over the weekend. Mugginess returns. Summer weather for sure.
I don't think I've ever used this term for the weather, but that forecast is luscious.
Ooh.
I love it. That's great.
Yes.
It's still summer. Let's bring make summer summer again. There we go.
Yes.
Thank you, Brittany. Have a
You're
wonderful
welcome.
day. We'll talk to you later. Again, a reminder, sign up for our newsletters, upnorthnewswi.com. Click subscribe in the top banner. And by the way, if you missed anything that we did over the first 2 hours, you can pod this program. Head over to Spotify right now and follow us, maybe Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And that way it's always on your device, always handy. We are in a world of subscriptions right now. So subscribe to this show. And then when you're done with that, get over to Substack, because there are things to subscribe to there as well, like Below the Beltway. the newest newsletter from Courier Newsroom, done. You can also find it at beltway.news, done by Cam Stevenson from Courier Newsroom, who is our newest correspondent up there on Capitol Hill and joins us this time on Tuesdays going forward. Cam, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Pat. Thanks for having me on today.
Hey, and you're getting all settled in. You made the move from Arizona over the summer. There wasn't too much of a hazing ritual by the Capitol Press Corps or anything. They've welcomed you with open arms, I hope.
More or less. There's still the occasional at the stoplight they'll look over, rev their engine, then go in reverse. But
Sure.
Other than that, things have been pretty friendly.
All right, good. Glad to hear. So Cam has come to us after years at the Copper Courier in Arizona, and so he's got a little bit of experience in law enforcement and racial profiling, the kind of thing that's not supposed to be a thing. And as I mentioned earlier in the morning, what in my mind is an earthquake of a decision by the conservative justices on the U.S. Supreme Court. It should be a big story all across, and that I knew we were going to wait till you were here to get to it. The short version is, in my words, the 6 justices on the U.S. Supreme Court in a shadow docket ruling, they've said nothing about where this ruling came from in terms of being placed in law. We don't know where they're coming from a legal standpoint, but at least temporarily, they have said when it comes to racial profiling for the purposes of these immigration raids, hey, fine with us. That, racial profiling has made some kind of a comeback. And Cam, you've had some experience with that in Arizona.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's first the use of the shadow docket is such a cowardly way to go about this, which is where they put out an order, but they don't put their names to it or give any distinction as to what this order actually means as far as our Constitution. So is racial profiling constitutional now? Have they changed the Fourth Amendment? We don't know, but we do know that they are allowing law enforcement to racially profile in Los Angeles right now, which in previous constitutional law, previous Supreme Court rulings have declared this to be against the Fourth Amendment, which is the right to not be unreasonably searched and seized by the police or by law enforcement. Whereas previously, this was seizing someone based on their race, based on how they looked, was unreasonable. And the current Supreme Court no longer thinks that, apparently.
No, and the funny thing is, you've heard the term search and seizure for years and years and years, and you just you always focus on the search part of it. We're now at the seizing part of it, where without necessarily any cause or any due process, people are literally being seized off the streets in like a dragnet, and then the burden is on you to prove that you're here legally. It's the papers, please kind of authoritarianism that we thought was impossible to bring back in this country, and yet it's here. And Arizona, of course, had a notorious sheriff who got his hand slapped legally more than a few times for some of his practices.
Yeah, he was once known as the toughest sheriff in America. He was one of Donald Trump's first pardons back in 2017.
Yes,
I believe.
The Joe Arpaio pardon. That's right.
Joe Arpaio, he's the one. And he was pardoned based on he was being held in contempt for a continuation of these practices, where there was a law passed in Arizona back almost 20 years ago. It was called SB 1070, is the Show Me Your Papers law, where police could stop anyone for any reason and demand to be seen documentation for proof that they were a documented resident, whether an immigrant or a citizen or anything. This went through a ton of court battles where eventually the Supreme Court ruled that this was unconstitutional, that people couldn't be stopped just based on how they looked. And Arpaio and his sheriff's department were found to be racially profiling. Now, that didn't stop them from doing it for years and years while it was making its way through the courts. But what it did do is have some very, I would say, unintended consequences for the right. In what these Show Me Your Papers laws did is the same thing we're seeing now in Los Angeles, where it's igniting thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people into activism, where they don't want this. They don't like this. They don't like being racially profiled. They don't like their friends being stopped. They don't like, when they're going out with someone, just to go get dinner or something, for their friend to say, hey, do you think you could drive because you're less likely to get pulled over because you're white? Because that's the sort of thing that happens. And so what these blatantly immoral laws, whether or not the Supreme Court deems them to be constitutional, but these immoral laws breed activism. And in Arizona, we have seen an incredible surge of people drawn away from the right and towards progressive policies because they saw their parents getting arrested. They saw their friends' parents or their teachers going to jail or having to go through the court system, not because they did anything wrong, but just because of the way they looked.
Right. And that's the point. And what you're hearing from the Trump administration is, well, if they're here legally, they don't have anything to fear. And Justice John Roberts, quite shamefully, had said that, well, this is not a major inconvenience, because obviously for a white guy like him, he won't have to go through being slammed to the ground and having to prove that he's a citizen after being detained for hours, if not longer. And yet this is the kind of thing that John Roberts and others have been backing up. We also have our Sunday newsletter with a question of the week. And this time around, it's about the Epstein files. And we ask, is Donald Trump protecting himself? Is he protecting someone else? Or is he blackmailing someone else? And Cam, I know we started to talk about this last week with Congress back in session. The Trump administration is trying to wish away the Epstein files, but as of today, it's still very much a live topic on Capitol Hill, why the Trump administration isn't releasing more information.
Yeah. And I think, first and foremost, I don't think it has anything to do with moral quandary. I don't think Donald Trump feels guilty about anything in general, ever. Least of all this, hiding past transgressions. I think for him, it's more about power and control. He's someone who enjoys controlling the news cycle, controlling the narrative. He likes having that power. That's why he enjoys the highest position in the world. Isn't because he likes to be diplomatic or he has an interest in governing, but because the world is forced to pay attention to him. And what is happening with Jeffrey Epstein's case and people's frustration with it is it's a narrative about him, but he doesn't control it. And so I think first and foremost, he just wants it gone because it bothers him that he can't have that control. I think there is potential for blackmail. I think that's why he had, or his Department of Justice had, 1,000 FBI agents go through the files that they had gotten on Epstein, both redacting his name and making lists of any other names that are in there. I think that's useful for blackmail. That's useful for coercion. And it's useful for power and controlling the narrative, which again is, his favorite pastime.
Cam Stevenson, national correspondent for Courier Newsroom, is talking to us live from Washington, D.C. on this Tuesday morning. The Rose Garden is no longer a garden. I wondered, now that it's essentially been, bulldozed over and being used for, dinners where the corruption is kind of right out there in the open, as you see Donald Trump trying to enrich himself. But I wondered, have there been alternative uses? Have you been invited yet? Like, are they doing roller skating around the patio now or anything like that? I mean, that was almost surreal, even by Washington press corps standards, watching the Rose Garden turned into just like Mar-a-Lago North and just being used as a patio dining set.
Yeah, well, I can tell you what it's not being used for. It's not being used for free meal programs for low-income families or as temporary housing for the people who Donald Trump has pushed out of the district because they didn't have a place to live. But it is a very symbolic location now for wealth and for the upper class, and as a symbol that the White House is a purchasable good, being able to gain favor. If I remember correctly, this renovation, I guess you call it, or even the ballroom they're building, It's not paid for by tax dollars. It's something that special interests can donate money to essentially gain favor with the president. And so it's, it was a rose garden for the people, and now it's a walled garden for the elite.
It really is. And people go, well, private dollars are paying for it. Yeah, there's some things you don't want private dollars paying for because of the potential for corruption. You can read more from Cam Stevenson in Below the Beltway, the newsletter that you can get at beltway.news or through couriernewsroom.com. Cam, thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, looking forward.
All right. Sounds good. And coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to be talking to Dan Schaefer from the recombobulation area, covering Wisconsin state government as well. I'm Pat Kreitlow. You're up north. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Well, thanks, Pat.
You're welcome. Sorry, I was hitting the wrong buttons over there and just popping things left and right. Something happened right behind you as you were saying goodbye.
Yeah. My wife was coming in the door.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe there were pets jumping on furniture or something like that.
Well, the pets, they were jumping with joy because she got home.
Okay. Anyway, so then I got discombobulated. I'm like, what button am I pushing here?
No, you're good.
Here we are.
A little Easter egg for anyone watching.
Yep. Parker's got a question for you.
Yeah, Cam, do you have, so I see you've got a lav mic on there. Are there settings that you can adjust the gain on that at all?
Yeah, is it too high?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'll push it down a bunch next time.
Okay.
Awesome, sweet. Appreciate
Sounds
it.
great. And what we'll do is in the break beforehand, we'll test it out so we can fiddle with it up or down a little bit.
Yeah,
okay,
I didn't.
Cool. I know. I got to get one of those fancy podcast mics like you guys.
Yeah. Hey, if we need to, we need to. But let's see how that one works next week then.
Yeah. All right. We'll give it a spin.
All right. Thanks, Cam. Talk to you later.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.
That was like a whirlwind of Pat pushing buttons. Let's try this. Let's try that.
I was like, oh God, no, put that off.
Well, and Cam was about to sign off. I'm like, I didn't want him to sign off. I want to stick him around, but of course that brought his audio back up. It was
okay.
Yeah, it was.
I got it turned off before anything happened, so it was fine.
Okay. Good deal. Welcome back on this Tuesday morning. It is 8:22, just about 8:23 now. It is 63 degrees in La Crosse, 57 in Oshkosh, and 61 degrees at Brothers Bar on Water Street. Yeah, we're back on Water Street again for a story about the Magic Man. Parker, if I say the Magic Man, again, I don't know how much of this is a youth thing. How many Packer fans still know the Magic Man?
Yeah,
would you know who you Yeah, Don Mikowski. Okay, there you go. And this was a few days back, but I hadn't had a chance to talk about it yet, about how a former Packer quarterback, according to the story from WQOW, was cited for disorderly conduct after an alleged bar disturbance on Water Street in Eau Claire. Police were called to Brothers Bar around 11 p.m. back on August 29th for an undesirable person. The caller said a man refused to leave the bar after choking an employee. Officers spoke with the man, identified as Don Mikowski, outside the bar. He told police that he was jumped because boyfriends of the girls at the bar were jealous of him because he was a former NFL player. We need the Mo Green soundbite that goes from The Godfather going, "You know who I am." That's exactly what this was. So a bartender tries to break up the fight, and the bartender says Mikowski grabbed his throat. A picture with the police report shows red marks on the bartender's neck after the incident. Police cited Mikowski for disorderly conduct. Police said he was extremely intoxicated and unable to unlock his phone to contact an Uber. Police drove him to the Best Western where he said he was staying. Police later were called back because Mikowski wasn't staying at that Best Western. He was staying at a different Best Western hotel. Mikowski, for those who don't know, played for the Packers from 1987 to 1992. He got the nickname the Magic Man. He was in 1989 selected to the Pro Bowl, the first one who'd been to the Pro Bowl since Bart Starr. Had a lot of potential there for a while till he didn't. And Brett Favre came along not that much later. And now, for whatever reason, Don Mikowski's drinking at a college bar on Water Street in Eau Claire, getting in fights.
Weirdly enough, I actually saw a video of this.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, on Twitter, there was somebody within kind of the community-ish that I guess I'm near, who ran into him and like took a picture with him and like had a video of him talking to cops.
Okay.
I wasn't sure it was him. I am kind of surprised that it actually was him, to be honest with you, from who it came from on Twitter.
Well, and again, you see the report going, hey, essentially, do you know who I am? And saying that's why the boyfriends were jealous, because I'm sure I can already envision the discussion he was having to the girls, and that the girls did not want creepy old man talking about how I could throw a football over a mountain back in the day. Uncle Rico was hanging out with the Magic Man at a bar on Water Street, and this happens.
Was adults, like actual like parents in bars, a thing at all when you were in college? Because that happens every now and then, and it's a weird sighting.
Adults in bars?
Yeah, like in college bars.
Oh, like older people in college bars.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's a parent, then that's one thing. It's like, oh, look, mom and dad had to hang around for so-and-so. Oh, we just want to see where you hang out. That's one thing. That's one category. The other category is, creepy old guy. And by old guy, I mean like 33, 35, and up, who's probably got a Camaro parked outside and, is still trying to live glory days. I mean, Bruce Springsteen wrote the song for a reason,
True.
And that's, when you see that, and even if it's a bar where it's all pretty much like, adults, or older adults or whatever, there's always that ick factor when, you get some younger people walk in, some couples or a gang or whatever, and the women are there and they just want to get a drink with their friends. And suddenly it's, the modern day equivalent of, hey, what's your name? What's your sign? Where are you from? It's like, just don't let them order their drinks and go, pal. They're not going to suddenly take a shine to you. So got one comment on Facebook. Brett Favre came in to replace the Magic Man when Mikowski got hurt, and the rest is history. So basically he was Wally Pipp, and then Brett Favre turned into Lou Gehrig, who came along after that. So, all right. So, guys, if you're going to a bar, and look, bars are still a fine place to meet people. Just be aware that there is an age. There's a line. Below that line, the things that you say, they're kind of cute and charming and flirty, and maybe even attractive. And then above that line, you could say the exact same words, but they now come off as ick. They now come off as inappropriate, and you just shouldn't go there. Just
I'm having weird
and especially if you've got like any kind of celebrity. I mean, I can't even imagine going, hey, I used to be the 6 and 10 o'clock anchor here in Eau Claire, and they'd be like, what they do is they'd say, oh yeah, I remember I was 4 years old, when you were on TV. It's like, that'll
Stop talking to me in this bar. I'm trying to drink a beer. Go
Yes,
away.
please, Grandpa, just take your glass of Metamucil and go over there. Yeah, that's all we would appreciate. So anyway, back to wrap up our story with Don Makowski. I believe the disorderly conduct citation comes with a $213 fine or something like that, which I'm hoping the NFL paid well enough that he was able to take care of that and maybe find other bars to drink at going forward.
That's the main thing. Yeah.
Yep. Please just do that for us if you can. Coming up, we're going to be talking to Dan Schaefer from the recombobulation area. The state budget is a done deal, but there's still plenty of things that the Wisconsin legislature should be working on. We'll talk to Dan all about that in just a bit. From the heart of America's up north, live from the lake. Thanks for making this the place to spend part of your mornings. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. See if it works on Dan Schaefer. You know, Dan, I used to be a TV news anchor, in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Are you impressed? He's not, because he's muted. He doesn't even want to talk to us now. Yeah. Okay. Let's try that again. Take two.
I'm very impressed, Pat.
Oh, okay.
Of course I am.
All right. See, now I would probably be more likely to do that if I had a voice like Dan Schaefer's. That was always the knock of that I got from my bosses at the TV station. It's like, well, you kind of know what you're doing, but you got that nasally, nails on a chalkboard kind of voice. And I'm like,
so well, you moved to radio?
Yeah, that's where I started in radio. Yeah, well, again, the bar is set pretty low. If they're going to let a guy sounding like me on the radio, again, we can't all have Dan Schaefer's dulcet tones. So, it is what it is. Dan's just got to work on being able to wake up earlier, and then he can finally take this shift.
Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. You're safe. You're very, very safe.
It wasn't happening to me for the longest time either. And then you reach an age where it's like, well, I'm up this early anyway. What the heck? So,
hey, Dan, real quick, do you have something playing in the background? Do you have like a TV or something on?
Is that him, or do I have a website?
Hold on a second. Let me figure this out.
I think you might have a website that's playing something. Now it's gone.
Yeah, it's Dan. Yeah, because he muted himself. That's Dan.
Okay. There's nothing like when you're reading from a website and then one of their autoplay things comes on.
Oh, yeah.
That's the worst.
I have a Civic Media app on my phone, and that.
Oh, that's it. Yep.
You know what? That's acceptable. You can put that back on.
Yeah. No.
I was listening to the show as I was setting up my.
I do the same. I'll be doing the same thing an hour from now before I go on with Greg. It's like, oh, wait, turn the app off. So, all right. We got 2 minutes till we come back. So let's start with David Crowley. We're just going to get your entire memory dump of. This is Dan Schaefer's entire file on David Crowley, and then we'll go from there.
What's the news with David Crowley this morning? Did I miss something?
He announced this morning. Yes.
He did it? I didn't even see that.
Put out the welcome video. Yeah.
Oh,
Dan, if you, or not Dan,
video. All right.
Parker, if you can find it, we can play the audio off the video, which we did not do that for Sarah Rodriguez, and we really should have, but, if you can find the video, let me know in the chat and we'll just pause and let it play, because he lays out a good biographical story, just like Sarah Rodriguez did.
Okay.
Let's see. Where did I see? Oh, I've got it right here. Do you need the link? I'll put it in the chat here.
Do you have it? Send it, sure.
I'll put it here.
Do we know, is there a good soundbite in that? Because what I've got is 2 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's a 2-minute intro video.
Do we want the whole?
We look, Dan and I got to fill 25 minutes here, so we're I think
then
we're good with taking 2 minutes apart. We're going to talk for a while, and then we'll play it. So
okay, just give me the usual.
Dan's got
hand up.
Another 90 seconds to pull up all of his David Crowley files.
Jeez, all right.
Yeah, I know. The news can sneak up on you.
I didn't grow up in the hall.
That's the one. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, he gave the AP heads up, so the AP has a whole right up here, ready to go. Which I wouldn't have seen, but I was looking up on the AP site to get the details on the Bears collapsing to the Vikings. Yep. Of course, if it would work the other way, I'd be happy too. So it's just sad that they can't have a 0-0 tie, unfortunately. So, all right, we got 45 seconds till we come back. Tomorrow on the program, in our homeroom segment, we're going to talk about a new campaign that helps taxpayers understand just how much the private school voucher scheme is taking out of their wallets and out of our hometown schools. Heather Dubois-Bornon will be along to do that with us. Let's see, we'll have Amy Barrelow from Clean Wisconsin on Wisconsin's data center boom and the environment. We'll be checking in with our civic media friends, and we got lots of them. We got Melissa Kay in Wisconsin Rapids. We got Jimmy Koska in Boscobel, James Kelly in Chippewa Falls, and Earl Ingram from Milwaukee will tell us what's happening with the What's Going On with Earl Ingram podcast. All of that tomorrow here on the program. But today, we have Dan Schaefer, civic media political editor from the recombobulation area down there in beautiful Milwaukee, where the Milwaukee County executive in the wee smalls made it official that he is now a candidate for governor. Dan Schaefer, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Kreitlow. I am doing well, and it is always wonderful to join you here on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow.
We appreciate it so very much. And so you will obviously have more familiarity with David Crowley than we will up here in the Chippewa Valley, though Crowley was here about 2 weeks ago visiting an affordable housing program that's up here and talking a bit about what he's done for affordable housing. And he said, that a decision was coming in the next few weeks. So clearly we are now in the next few weeks where David Crowley becomes the second Democrat running for governor, along with Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez. So Dan, as the person from that corner of the state, how would you give us your 30,000-foot view of the county executive, David Crowley?
Yeah, David Crowley is somebody I have a very positive opinion of from being here in southeastern Wisconsin, being in Milwaukee. I actually, in the very early days of the recombobulation area, I endorsed David Crowley in the race for Milwaukee County Executive after doing a series of interviews with all of the candidates. And Crowley really, ran as a bridge builder, trying to bring Milwaukee County together, trying to solve some of its big problems. And I think in the last 5 years that he's been at the helm in Milwaukee County, he's done a terrific job. But I think as far as being, a statewide candidate, I think, someone from Milwaukee always is going to have some sort of baggage about being from Milwaukee when it's running a statewide race. Candidates from around here, can be painted with a certain brush. And I do wonder if his name recognition outside of the southeastern Wisconsin market, where I think he is well known and well liked, is going to be the same as some other candidates who might have a little bit more of a statewide presence. So, but I think, he's somebody that I wrote a piece about the potential candidates who might be running for governor at the recombobulation area last month, my too early look at the race for governor. And I talked about David Crowley a little bit. And I think, of anyone on the Democratic side who is running for the race, anybody who's running for governor, really, I think David Crowley has the highest upside of anybody potentially running in this race. I think he is a potentially very dynamic and interesting candidate. And I'm excited to see what his message is going to be and how voters respond to him once he really hits the campaign trail.
Yeah. Now, Crowley, who's 39 years old, is vying to become the state's first black governor. Rodriguez would be the first woman elected to the post. And they would both tell you that is neither one of those. That's not why they're running. Crowley says he wants to be a governor for everybody. He wants to focus on lowering costs for families, affordable health care and housing, fully funding public schools. The Associated Press write-up notes that Crowley grew up in the 53206, the zip code that a 2013 UWM study found was the most incarcerated zip code in the country, with the majority of men who live there having spent time behind bars. The area is known for high rates of poverty, a high concentration of vacant lots, and poor health care. And Crowley does not shy away from that in his launch video, which we may listen to in a little while here. But he leans into it, talks about his family once being homeless and then becoming a community organizer. And we have seen a growing share of folks, Dan, from the 53206 who are saying, I don't want to be tagged as just that. There is so much more that our community can do, but somebody's got to be fighting for them, out beyond the boundaries of their zip code.
Yeah, this is, a part of Milwaukee. Milwaukee, obviously, as we know, is one of the most segregated cities, major cities in the country. It has some parts of the city that battle really extreme poverty, experience a lot of gun violence. And, this 53206 neighborhood has been really kind of the heart of where a lot of these problems lie in the city. And I think David Crowley has talked about growing up in this neighborhood. Mandela Barnes has talked about growing up in this neighborhood. Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson has talked about growing up in this neighborhood. And I think it is shaping a generation of new leaders in the city who have grown up in this type of environment and want to make a difference. And yes. I think David Crowley is not shying away from that. I think he's got a pretty interesting personal story. Getting involved with some nonprofit organizations in Milwaukee after growing up, in kind of a difficult situation. I believe his family was evicted from their home a number of different times living in the city, but he found his calling in public service and has, really been a rising star in Milwaukee politics for the last decade or so. He was a state assembly representative for a number of terms and then ran for county executive in 2020. And what a time to begin that job, too. But at the same time, I think, I think he can stand out in a potentially large field of Democratic candidates that we might be seeing here as somebody with executive experience. And I think that is something he's going to lean into as well. Some of the other folks who, might have, might be in the legislature or whatever it might be. The fact that he's run the most populous county in the state for the past 5 years, I think is something that is going to afford them opportunity to stand out. And again, like you mentioned, he's 39. He's a young guy. He's an energetic guy. He's very personable as well. And, I did an event with Crowley a couple of years ago in Milwaukee where it was like a live podcast interview that we did at Anodyne Coffee at Walker's Point. And before he came on stage to talk with me at that event, he stopped at every single table and introduced himself and was cracking jokes. And I think he's a pretty dynamic retail politician, too. And it's going to be interesting to see how people respond to him when he's getting around the state for this campaign.
We are talking to Dan Schaefer, the political editor for Civic Media and founder of the Recombobulation Area. You can subscribe to that over at therecombobulationarea.news. Crowley at 39 would be one of the younger candidates in the race. You've got Sarah Rodriguez, who is 50. Potential candidates, Senator Kelder Royce is 46. Former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes is 38. Attorney General Josh Kaul is 44. You've got Washington County Executive Josh Schoeman on the Republican side, who is 43. And then you've got suburban Milwaukee businessman Bill Berrien, who is 56. All of that by comparison to Tony Evers, who is 73. And you, of course, Dan, are quite familiar with the whole notion of Democrats and passing the torch. And so whether it's one of these younger Democrats or one of the younger Republicans, we are seeing a bit of a generational shift at the tops of tickets in politics these days.
Yeah, and I think it's a welcome shift in a lot of ways, and an overdue one in a lot of ways. I think there were statistics, particularly about the U.S. Senate, showing that it is as old as it has ever been. I believe the statistic that I dug up when I was writing that piece this year, there are more senators over the age of 80 than there are under the age of 50, and in our politics. And I think that needs to change. I think part of the problem with having older politicians is failure to connect with what younger generations are looking for in their politics. And I think we're seeing this divide between, millennial and Gen Z politics and some of the boomer politics of the past. And I think we need to, one of the real fault lines in our politics is this generational divide that I think some older politicians have not spoken to. So I think for younger people, for younger families, I think having younger candidates that can understand the issues that people are facing is really a benefit, and I'm really interested to see how that plays out.
Well, there's nothing beneficial about the flash flooding that hit Milwaukee. It is, from a timing standpoint, it works well for Crowley in this way. He has been able to highlight what the county has done in the wake of the flash flooding damage. The ball is now in the court of FEMA and Donald Trump and the whims of Donald Trump in terms of declarations and things like that. Crowley targeted Donald Trump in his launch video, as did Sarah Rodriguez, who called Trump a maniac in her launch video. And so, Dan, in the race for governor, which is going to be seen as a midterm referendum on the Trump presidency so far, is it smart politics that any Democratic candidate is also throwing some punches Donald Trump's way?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it is. Clearly everything that's happening in American politics right now is going to be viewed through the prism of what's happening with the Trump administration. And as the one big, beautiful bill starts rolling downhill, I think we're going to see some really damaging impacts of that. We saw some polling on the bill earlier this week, and it was way underwater. Trump's approval rating is very low, and we've seen time and time again that when he is not on the ballot, that does not drive turnout for Republican voters. And so I do think, Wisconsin being the swing state that it is, it's going to have all eyes on us for any kind of statewide race. Obviously this is a little bit different than it might be for like a U.S. Senate race that might have the obvious more national implications, but it's still Wisconsin. And it's still, we saw how much attention was paid to us for the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Obviously it's going to be a similar type of dynamic for the midterms as well as we look ahead to the governor's race. And so everything is in the shadow of Trump, as much as we might not like that so much.
No, but it is. And it's been that way with every presidency. And there's a lot to talk about with this presidency, that any candidate on any ballot for any race is going to be asked their thoughts, and whether they essentially stand with Trump or do they, vow to fight for, their constituents rather than the whims of a president. So there's really not that much downside to mentioning the president, and especially one that is this far underwater, basically. We're talking to Dan Schaefer from the recombobulation area here, and just a couple minutes before we take a break, which is probably all the time we should probably leave for it, but there is drama in the Assembly Democratic Caucus. One of the members is no longer a member of the caucus, and that's fine with many of the other members of the Assembly Democratic Caucus. And I can say, from having been in the Senate Democratic Caucus, or anybody in any of these legislative caucuses, you don't always all work and play well together, especially if there is, shall we say, a character amongst you.
Yeah, there's been a lot of issues surrounding Milwaukee area state representative Sylvia Ortiz-Velez, who had her access to the Capitol restricted after it sounds like some threats that she made to fellow Democratic legislators. She has since left the Democratic caucus, giving them one fewer Democrat in the ranks there. Fortunately, the margins are not so tight as this does no longer give Republicans a supermajority the way it may have under previous gerrymandered maps. But yeah, this is, I believe there's going to be more information on this coming soon. It's a pretty wild story, and the fact that she has left the Democratic caucus over this, not leaving, she's still a Democrat. She has actually endorsed Sarah Rodriguez in the race for governor. But the fact that she is leaving the Democratic caucus among, these growing tensions with some other fellow Democrats there, it's a pretty wild story.
Yeah. And look, you can say that you are prone to engaging in hyperbole, and that's fine. But when you mix that with, making references to weaponry, that can be a real problem. And that is one that, again, is dealt with in plenty of other workplaces as well. And you try to take those kinds of threats seriously, and that there's just some things you don't joke about. We're talking to Dan Schaefer from the Recombobulation area. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were going to take the time to play the video or not. We're going to start with Corrine Hendrickson.
Okay.
And you can talk about McNamara running for Secretary of State. And
couple candidates now for that race.
Yeah. Yep. And the Assembly floor session and Idea Fest. So we should be good for doing the rest of the segment. So we probably won't need the video, Parker, but keep it handy. You just never know. What I will do on one of these segments, probably one of the cut-in segments, is we will actually play both videos. Did Josh Schoeman do a video as well when he launched? I'm betting that he did. And maybe Bill Berrien.
He did, yeah.
Maybe what I need to do instead then is cut these all down. Maybe do like the best 60 seconds out of all of them and put something on the radio about that. That might be a fairer way to go here. So
there you go.
All right. What did you working on anything in particular today?
I guess the David Crowley announcement.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, I got to go. Yeah, I've got to go to my way too early story and start to do an update on these things. So, all right. Well, good. Well, then we're set to go. 2 more minutes left in the break, and then we'll wrap things up.
"30 seconds.
Got some Brewers baseball for you tonight. Coverage begins at 6:30 as the Brewers take on the Texas Rangers in Game 2 of their 3-game series. The Brewers were blanked yesterday for only the 11th time this season, 5-0. Jose Quintana was perfect through the first 4 innings, then not so much. However, the Cubs also lost, so the Brewers could clinch a spot in the playoffs today. Their magic number is 2. to get into the postseason. Their magic number is 11 to clinch the National League Central Division, and the magic number is 12 to have the best record and the number 1 seed. So you might want to keep on listening to the Brewers taking on the Rangers. Again, 6:30 this evening is when the pregame gets started. We're talking to Dan Schaefer now from the Recombobulation area and Civic Media political editor. And we spent the first segment talking a bit about David Crowley making the announcement that he would be running for Wisconsin governor. But there are other topics out there as well, other candidacies, including Secretary of State, because Sarah Godlewski is running for lieutenant governor. Right. So where are these pieces starting to fall together, or are we still way too early in the process?
It's early in the process, but we're seeing how some of this is going to the domino effect of some of these candidacies. So because Sarah Rodriguez, our current lieutenant governor, is running for governor, that will leave that lieutenant governor spot open. So Secretary of State Sarah Godlewski going from Secretary of State to running for Lieutenant Governor. And now we have a couple folks running for Secretary of State as well. One announced yesterday, Colin McNamara, who's from Central Wisconsin, Stevens Point area. He launched his campaign. He says he's been an active member of the Portage and Waupaca County Democratic parties. He ran for state Senate unsuccessfully against a Republican incumbent in the last cycle. And then we also have Milwaukee alderperson Jocasta Zamaripa, who launched her campaign last week for Secretary of State. She's currently on the Milwaukee Common Council, and she served in the Wisconsin State Legislature for several terms in the 2010s as well. So, we're getting a couple candidates making the run for statewide office. Maybe we'll have a primary. Who knows? It's very, very early, but interesting to see some of these candidates getting into the mix here.
I think that all Democratic voters need to get used to the idea of showing up next August for their primary, not just for governor, Secretary of State, perhaps for a lieutenant governor, maybe attorney general, but also for some legislative races. For example, in Southwest Wisconsin, in the 17th State Senate District, which is currently represented by Republican Howard Markline, who's co-chair of the Joint Finance Committee. There's already one Democratic candidate, and that would be State Representative Jana Jacobson. But I know that child care provider Corrine Hendrickson from New Glarus, who has now had to shut down her child care center, a longtime advocate for child care support in the state budget, had been considering a run for state Senate, also in that 17th district. And Dan, you and I saw notes that a campaign committee registration had been filed. Now, that does not necessarily mean that you're about to announce a campaign, but you're starting to get your paperwork in order. And I can say that Corrine Hendrickson will be with us 1 week from tomorrow to make some kind of an announcement, and does have an event planned. So the upshot of all this, Dan, is that Democratic voters probably need to get used to the notion that there will be multiple primaries come August that they need to weigh in on.
Yeah, primaries are not a bad thing. I think the Democrats have avoided primaries in certain respects to their detriment. And I think we have to get back to a place where people having these conversations are able to be critical. And I think there is kind of this iron sharpens iron quality that can come from having these competitive primaries to get you ready for the general election stretch run, when you're going to hit with all kinds of, super PAC ads and crazy attacks and whatever it might be. But I'm very interested to see what Corrine Hendrickson is going to do next. And she is somebody who's been a guest columnist at times at the Recombobulation area. I'm certainly familiar with her work advocating for childcare. She was really the face of childcare advocacy in Wisconsin for the past few years. And I'm really very interested to see what she's going to do next. I imagine that, There may be more high-profile candidates. There may be candidates who have better paths to victory. No one is going to outwork Corrine Hendrickson in a campaign like this. She is a dedicated person, that's for sure.
Yeah, some of us were, we first saw her in testimony before Congress on the issue of child care. And I think a lot of people were very happy to see her take on that role as being a leading spokesperson on the issue. But as she has told us on this program, that connects to every other issue out there. And she has certainly talked about those connections. And so when she is with us 1 week from tomorrow, it may be quite possible that she gives all the specifics on what it is that she wants to get into next. We've got about 2 minutes left here, so that's just enough time to talk about. We talked about the drama in the Assembly Democratic Caucus, but the Assembly itself is meeting. The fall session is getting underway in earnest. So again, some non-budget bills are going to be considered. Are you following anything in particular?
Yeah, there's a few things working through the Assembly right now. The Senate doesn't seem to have anything on its calendar. I don't know if they're going to be doing anything between now and the end of the month, which would be a real problem for those homeless veterans facilities that need funding to stay open before the end of the month. So hopefully the Senate gets back in gear and schedules some things too. But the Assembly has a number of committee meetings this week and also a floor session on Thursday as well. I believe they are taking up at least 3 bills that have already passed through the Senate. So some stuff might actually be getting over the finish line in the Wisconsin State Legislature and, not in the budget cycle here. So we'll see what exactly is going to come from that. And then I think they'll be voting on a number of bills and we'll see if both chambers of the Wisconsin State Legislature can get some things done here in the fall.
Dan Schaefer from the Recombobulation Area. Sign up at the recombobulationarea.news. Dan, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Pat. Be well.
You bet. Coming up on the Maggie Dawn Show at 5:30 this evening, we will hear from Stacey Abrams, former candidate in Georgia, being part of Cap Time's Idea Fest and the work to defend DEI against ongoing attacks. Again, that's coming up at 5:30. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Thanks for being a part of things here on our mornings powered by Up North News. You hope you have a great Tuesday. We'll see you at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, right back here up north.